Blinking lights, trigger warning. In case blinking lights do something to you, I'm going to turn them off in a second once I find the remote. Let me know if you can hear me. Hi, Scripsy. Dandy, thank you. Hi, Disney. Hi, Anne. Hi, Just Me. Hi, Lutheros. Bloodbath. Bloodbath, I think my channel name has the offensive word, my handle doesn't, but also they change it, like, I don't know. It's what happens when you live in a world of uneducated morons, miscreants. Hi, Charles. Hey, Dana. Sorry about the delay. I cracked. I made it for later, but I'd like to say that it's YouTube's fault, but I may not have clicked save. I don't know. It just seems unlike me. Hi, Amina. If you're still here. Kim called. Okay. Let me fix this. Turn the lights on so you can see me. Is that too much? I don't know. I don't know. How's it going, guys? So, hi, horrific heirlooms. Horrific heirlooms. Hi, Deborah. Route Irish. Hi. I have you queued up. I'm going to check you out. Route Irish is doing a podcast tonight at Mark's channel, it's called. I don't know where he comes up with that stuff. Hi, Forever Wander. Hi, Deb and Deborah. So we have, of course, because, God hates me. And possibly some of you, I don't know. But because we wanted to watch that trial, the Paul Hicks trial, no one's covering it now. But we still have the opening statements, which I think will be interesting. And I imagine that now that Brian Walshe is going to come to an end, they probably will pick up the coverage again. And I have a few pieces of it from it. So we'll watch that. And also that Dustin Duren asshole was sentenced. So we're going to watch that. Hi, Mallory. Hi, Jolly Rockhopper. Hi, Here to Judge. You came to the right place. Oh, that's fun. She's practicing Christmas recipes. Is Margie here? Or was she here? And what else do I have? There's one other thing. Oh, yeah. Another thing with Paul Hicks. He also had arson charges a few years ago, so I have some coverage on that. He's quite something, that guy. And also, in this trial that we've been watching, his ex-girlfriend, I think the one whose house he tried to, or did burn down, took the stand. So we'll take a look at her testimony. And that's it. I also I don't think Gigi is here, but when he comes here, I have something to tell him. Hey, Jackie. Hey, seriously? All right. Let's see what's up here. Oh, this is the arson, and then we'll go to the opening statements.
Way on a bizarre story out of Claremont County, and thanks for joining us. I'm Cherie Palillo.
And I'm Mike Dardis. Paul Hicks accused of creating an elaborate scheme to burn down his house and then frame his girlfriend. And tonight we've confirmed that he's not going to face any jail or prison time.
Yeah, so prosecutors say they offered him a plea deal on a much less serious charge. WLWT News 5's Karen Johnson spoke exclusively with his ex-girlfriend tonight in a story you'll see only here on WLWT. Karen?
Well, Cherie, I did talk to her, and she is not happy. She says she found out through a friend about the plea deal and says justice was not served. Now, this case dates back to 2015, the year of the fire on Stumpy Lane in Goshen. Hicks was indicted on 6...
My parents had an Alexa for 2 minutes, and my father asked it, Alexa, am I stupid? And Alexa responded, I don't know yet.
Felonies in 2019. This past week, he accepted a plea deal. He pleaded no contest and was convicted of insurance fraud, a misdemeanor. A fire caught on home security cameras, from the first blast to flames spreading from the kitchen and into the living room.
Well, squirrel.
20 minutes earlier, cameras also captured two people entering the Goshen home carrying gas cans. Before removing two large TVs, you can see them dousing the inside of the house. First the living room and then the kitchen.
I haven't seen this yet.
According to court documents, homeowner Paul Hicks tried blaming the fire on his ex-girlfriend, saying this was her. Detectives with the Claremont County Sheriff's Office even questioned her about it.
I had no idea about the house fire.
She was clear.
Happy birthday, King. That's awesome. I hope you have a great night.
Tonight she's speaking for the first time, but asked we conceal her identity.
He wanted to hurt me, to take my son.
Hi, Claire.
I left him.
Handling an attitude.
The only thing that would hurt me would be put me in prison and take my son.
In 2019, 4 years after the fire destroyed the Stumpy Lane home, Hicks was indicted on 2 counts of aggravated arson, 3 counts of perjury, and an insurance fraud charge. The last 3 years consisted of court appearances and continuations. Civilly, though, Allstate won its case. Hicks agreed to pay $400,000 to the insurance company. Through court filings in the civil case, the girlfriend learned shocking details. Records show Hicks had someone purchase a mask for him from a company called That's My Face, a company that makes custom-made wearable masks.
I was in shock. There was proof that a mask was bought of my face.
Shortly before the fire, investigators say she was being framed for. The ex says she spent the last several years waiting for justice. She says a plea deal and a misdemeanor conviction is not the outcome she expected.
That's not justice. When you have a victim out here hurting with a child who has a father that's done this to their mother, how is that justice?
Now, I just want to make sure. Did you hear that? I forgot about that part. That's how crazy it is. Yeah, he did look like quite the farm boy. From farm boy to friar. He had bought a fake mask that looks like his ex-girlfriend. I mean, this guy... A mask of his girlfriend. Bob the Jinx dude stunt with the mask. It's just amazing. We're also watching the trial of the ex-wife that he murdered 25 years ago, or trying to. They're not covering it. So I thought, so that's the guy whose trial we watched yesterday, mainly because of the cast of characters that was there. Yeah. Yeah, isn't that, I thought, this is Forever Wonder, so it's a misdemeanor, but not for burning down the house. The insurance fraud was a misdemeanor, which I thought was surprising, because I thought when it comes to that kind of thing, I mean, opening someone else's mail is a felony. Insurance fraud is a misdemeanor? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, we're having fun. What are you talking about? I know it is terrifying that a lot of things exist. Buzzed. So I thought we would look at Dustin Duren's. We watched him a few weeks ago. He's horrible. He has two daughters with this woman who's dead now because he shot her while she was holding one of them, the baby, I think. Or no, maybe the older one actually. But they're both very small. And acted like, because of his years in the military, he had PTSD, and he embarrassed himself and shamed his entire family up on the stand. And he was found guilty, shocked that he was found guilty, crying and all of it. Hasn't held a job since he was out of the military, of course. Named both of his kids after video games. And now we're going to watch him get sentenced, and I think it's going to be satisfying. Hey, Candace. Wait, first let's see what's here to judge is making. Chicken and dumplings, cranberry cake, everything but chocolate cookies. Oh, everything but the chocolate cookies you're making. Brie cranberry bites. Homemade mac and cheese, potato gratin bundles, mac prime rib. I mean, wow, I'm impressed. All right, so let's watch this idiot. I can find him. Man begs for mercy after killing mother of his children. There he is. Fucking idiot. Mr. Shoulder Pads.
I've always been horrified by what has happened. I've always been devastated.
Hang on, let me get this.
My children no longer have a mother. I have pushed back from the very beginning with my frustrations about the why and against the misinformation about myself, Caitlin, our lives, and my families. I've always acknowledged, first and foremost, I
See you
took a
later.
life.
Be careful.
And just as I said in my testimony, that life was important to me, important to our children, important to our family, important to everyone here. When I started crying, that was not planned or expected. Margaret even changed her direct because of it. That was genuine. I could not fathom that this had happened. I wept uncontrollably almost every waking minute for months after this tragedy. That led to me writing a death note and attempting to kill myself by what can only be described
I like luscious too.
as divine intervention. I am still
Yeah,
here.
Jackie, he's
And that is
horrible.
what led
Hi,
me to
Monique.
Pastor Justin.
Oh, he killed somebody. He killed the mother of his child.
Jesus Christ. I've poured my heart and soul out to him. I've spoken truthfully and with honor. Although I still wrestle with him in some areas, I am at peace. When I talked to Caitlin asking if she wanted to stay at my home while she was here, she said no. She referenced trauma from her childhood and not wanting to feel trapped in an unknown place. She said, no one benefits from me being debilitatingly anxious. I knew that. I knew her struggles. God knows I had plenty of them myself. We tried to work through them together. I tried asking others for help, but the ultimate responsibility
Yeah, doesn't he sound
lies with
remorseful?
me.
Well, not just like Sarah. No one sounds like Sarah.
Even
He's
though
not
we're never
forgiving
married,
people yet.
Our children created a bond, a forever bond between us, a sacred bond. I had a responsibility to her, and my choices made long before that night led to this. I had obligations to her that I did not meet.
Okay.
I failed it. My pastor mentioned how I've been praying for Caitlin's family, and that was true even before I met him. Specifically for you, Lori, I have empathy for you. What I've witnessed from you
Ridiculous, Meowfie.
is that of a loving mother and grandmother. Someone who, even when pushed away, never gave up. I still vividly remember us all trick-or-treating around your house just 2 years ago. I remember all of us together on Christmas Eve, not even 2 years ago. I know this to be true. There is no greater pain in this world than that of losing a child.
How do you know?
I grieve for you. I grieve with you. I'm sorry. To also point out, Tim,
I don't miss
your
him
last
already,
words,
too.
I can imagine the difficulty you had.
Hi, Dandy.
It is no small thing.
Shoulder pads is back. We're watching
Thank you.
sentencing.
Your words are inspirational, and I do honestly mean that. I will not let Caitlin be forgotten.
Oh, no?
I never spoke ill of Caitlin to our daughters. I always wanted Caitlin involved in our children's lives. I have so many incredible memories with her. When she was pregnant with Elwin, I took her to my favorite place, Yosemite. My fondest moment was waking up to our campsite surrounded by deer.
How about when she's pregnant and you want to do something special for her, you take her to her favorite place? Is it me?
Watching us in grazing before slowly
Also,
away. Then a
you know he took her there all the fucking time because it's his favorite place.
few months later, Caitlin
Idiots.
took me to Chicago, including visiting the beautiful botanical gardens and Six Flags, where Elwin got to ride a little roller coaster before she was even born. In Nevada, there was a beautiful oasis a few miles
Okay,
from our
Crack
house
Pepper.
with man-made lakes, horses, and dozens of peacocks freely roaming. We went there regularly and was a family routine I wish never ended. That was also where Elwin and Valen got to pet and ride their first horse. And Elwin and Valen, my life, my purpose, my everything. I envisioned great things for both of you, and I still do. Know that my love for both of you is infinite. Above all
Jackie.
else, stick together, protect and love each other unconditionally. I will be there for you no matter what. Even when separated by distance, we are never separated by heart.
You killed her. What are you doing?
To all my friends and family who have supported me and continue to do so, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm truly blessed, and to each one of you, you'll never be forgotten. I ask, Your Honor, that you minimize my
Meowfie, that's the
limitations
problem
as
with-
much as you are able.
Men are stupid, but women, when they're
Alongside
crazy,
allowing
they're
me to
crazy.
cultivate a life with my daughters and be the strong, positive influence I was always meant to be. I do not ask this for selfish reasons, but so that I may humbly serve God, country,
Comment, Claire.
family in full. Thank you.
Judge, as we conclude, I'd like to mention one United States Supreme Court
He's
case
asking too much.
that highlights that the court ought to afford Mr. Duren's military service and his service-connected PTSD great weight when considering sentence. It's a 2009 case, Porter versus McCollum, 558 U.S. 30. In that case,
I'm just pausing this for a second to answer Monique. The guy who, right, faked his own death and then went to Hungary or something to meet some woman, and then he was like, now he's back, but in prison or whatever he did. Also an idiot, obviously. Very religious, if memory serves. Pillar of the community.
the defendant, who was charged with
And you're
multiple
right, he
counts of
didn't,
murder
thank God.
and was facing the death penalty, was a military veteran who served in Korea and who struggled to regain normality upon
Thank
his
you, Round
return from
Irish.
war. Likewise, in this case, Mr. Duren is a military veteran who served in Iraq and who bears the wounds of that service and who struggled to regain normality upon his return from war.
Hi, Joette.
The court in Porter found that Mr. Porter's defense counsel was ineffective in failing to present mitigation evidence related to his military service and the effects that his service
I
had on
can't
him.
imagine he did, Round
Because
Irish.
that
Did you
mitigation
see his
evidence
hands?
would have and should have made a difference in imposing sentence. The United States Supreme Court explained, and I quote, "Our nation has a long tradition of according leniency to veterans in recognition of their service, especially for those who fought on the front lines, as Porter did. Moreover, the relevance of Porter's extensive combat experience is not only that he served honorably under extreme
Yeah,
hardship
he can kill his wife
and gruesome
because
conditions,
he
but
served.
also that the jury might find mitigating the intense stress and mental and emotional toll that combat took on Porter. And this court ought to uphold our nation's long tradition of according leniency to veterans in recognition of their service when imposing a sentence in this case. And the court should also find mitigating the intense stress and emotional toll that Mr. Duren's service took on him, as documented by his VA disability rating, the attached reports, and what you've heard and read today. In consideration of all the facts and circumstances of this case, in recognition of Mr. Duren's service and the permanent toll that his service took on him, we ask that the court adopt our sentencing recommendation and impose a sentence of 25 years to life in the state prison.
That's it? Well, I wanted to see him. Oh, here we go. Hang on. Wait, is this?
First of all, I would like to commend all counsel in this proceeding. I know it has been a difficult and lengthy one. I would like to thank the family members, witnesses, and media for your patience. Any delays that occurred at any point during these proceedings have been to protect and safeguard the rights of all involved in these proceedings. Mr. Duren, as we know, 12 qualified and impartial jurors.
Me neither, Rat Irish. I never thought of killing. I mean, I thought of killing my ex-husband. I would never do that. I mean, it's ridiculous. I didn't hate him that much, first of all. Second of all, who does that? And this was such a deliberate crime. This woman was holding their baby, and he just shot her.
To all citizens of Coos County.
And pretended it was because she was holding their child hostage in front of him.
Have unanimously found that you have committed the crimes as charged by the prosecutor, and the jurors returned verdicts of guilty on those charges. Accordingly, it is my sworn. Please be seated. Oh, okay. Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Sit the fuck
Accordingly,
down.
it is my sworn duty under the state and federal constitutions to impose sentences upon you for those crimes. The sentences I impose will be in accordance with the sentencing laws as established by the New Hampshire legislature and within the protections afforded to you and on your behalf by those same state and federal constitutions. The sentencing remarks that I make here today are based upon the guilty verdicts as returned by the jury. In deciding upon the appropriate sentences, I have considered all relevant factors in mitigation and aggravation. And I've also considered all of the goals of sentencing as I am required to do, which include punishment, rehabilitation, specific deterrence, and general deterrence. Matters that I have considered include the state's sentencing memorandum, which is 23 pages long. In it, it concludes a listing of comparable sentences. And for those of you who thankfully are not familiar with this process.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's
it is typical for both the state and the defense to provide comparable cases for them to argue to indicate that a sentence should be more similar to this case or more similar to this other case. As we all know, and as both parties have acknowledged, no two cases are identical, especially in any murder case.
Yeah,
every murder case is unique.
Coming right at him.
As I said, it is standard practice for the attorneys to argue by analogy relative to comparable sentences, and that is what has been done in this case by competent and experienced counsel on both sides.
Hey, girl, I miss Lauren
too. Every word, the sentencing memorandum proposed by the defendant, submitted by the defendant, 94 pages, which includes a detailed report from a military expert, Captain Art Cody.
Thank you.
The report from a psychiatrist expert, Dr. Roger Pittman. 7 letters of support that were appended at the time, and 3 more letters of support received today and read into the record. I've also considered the impact statements from Mr. John King, Ms. Eliza Schmidt, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, all others who spoke today in support of Caitlin, all of the family members who spoke today in support of her. I've considered Mr. Duren's military service. I've considered the impact of Mr. Duren's actions and my sentence on all families who have been so affected by this tragedy. I've also considered Mr. Duren's lack of a criminal record. I've considered all of the remarks from both the prosecutors and the defense counsel today. Certain matters that I have not considered include the following: any allegations of criminal conduct that are not specifically before this court, any other allegations of domestic abuse which were not before this court. However, I will point out that I have considered Ms. Nafzinger's stated fear of the defendant, which is demonstrated by virtue of the evidence proffered at trial, including by the defense, relative to the existence of a plan. So I have been asked to not consider any other allegations of domestic abuse, and I am not doing so. However, I am considering Ms. Nafzinger's stated fear, as it was indicated, as can be inferred and as indicated based upon testimony which was introduced during trial.
What a big baby he is, too. Just
I am not considering the status of any custody disputes or remarks made
the fam is all here.
about guardianship or family law proceedings which are not part of this proceeding here today. Nor am I considering the impact of any financial disputes that may have occurred between the families after the events which are the subject of these proceedings. And finally, I am not considering, as requested by the defense, I'm not considering as part of my sentencing, there is no trial penalty, so to speak, which is I'm not holding against Mr. Duren his right under our constitutions to demand a trial and to hold the state to its burden of proof. I have thought a lot about this case before, during, and after the trial. I listened very carefully to the testimony of all witnesses during the trial and considered their credibility and demeanor, as did the jury. I know that they did. With respect to the goal of sentencing being specific deterrence, a lengthy incarceration does mean, with respect to Mr. Duren, that he has less opportunity to commit any further crime. Further, a suspended sentence with respect to the reckless conduct charge does assist the overall goal of having specific deterrence under the circumstances. With respect to punishment, Mr. Duren, you took a life.
Yeah.
You argued at trial that it was justified, but the jury found differently.
This guy's pissed.
And the taking of a life necessitates a lengthy sentence. With respect to punishment, the court is not motivated by vengeance. There shall not be an eye for an eye, because an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind, as we know. And further, there must be some prospect, even if slim, but there must be some prospect for redemption and or salvation. With respect to rehabilitation, for those of you who are not familiar, the New Hampshire Constitution does provide that the true design of all punishments is to reform and not to exterminate mankind. I would note that both proposals from the state and the defense do include the possibility of Mr. Duren earning time reductions for completion of programming. I understand the defense argument to indicate that those are not quite as substantive or substantial as the prosecution would have us believe, but I do note that those components are included in both proposals relative to rehabilitation. With respect to general deterrence, another factor which the court is entitled and must consider under these circumstances, the message that the taking of another life carries with it in this state and in this county is that the prospect of a severe punishment as a general, there must be a prospect of a severe punishment as a general consideration to reduce crime. Also, with respect to general deterrence, there is a domestic violence component to this case, which has been discussed and cannot be ignored. I would point to evidence that included during the trial, Mr. Duren, that you called your attorney about your options. And then almost directly after that, based upon my recall of the evidence, you did call the Berlin Police Department. What I would describe based upon as a proactive tactical choice with respect to the circumstances that were presented to you at the time. And by that, it indicates that you knew that you had the option of calling the Berlin Police Department when confronted with the circumstances on February 29th. You could have called the Berlin police in response to the actions that were confronting you at that time, which you had done previously. But on that night, you chose not to. I also need to make a few comments about deadly force as a justification for homicide. I hope and I pray that everyone in this courtroom and all those in the sound of my voice never find themselves needing to use deadly force to defend themselves or others. However, if that does happen and deadly force is used, if the user chooses to use it to defend others or to stand his or her ground, the message must be sent that the user must also stand their ground to take the consequences of their action, to take responsibility for the use of deadly force, and not to flee the scene. I've considered all factors relative to specific deterrence, rehabilitation, punishment, general deterrence.
Oh, we're going
as
to,
I've said.
Danilin, fear not. We're going to go back to that.
Further, there has been much presented
cover it
of
today,
the
as you
challenges
probably heard.
that you have faced, Mr. Duren.
Hey, Fletcher.
I recognize and sympathize with the impact of those challenges. I would also like to state that I have not heard quite as much about the gifts that you have received. You were born an American citizen. You have two loving parents and others who surround you who love you. You had natural traits that allowed you to excel at an early age, as has been indicated by the evidence I've received. You've been blessed with
Hey,
not
Grampy, I
one,
hope you're
but
feeling
two
better.
healthy children, which so many others would envy you for.
I hope you're doing
You
well.
were gifted a pistol by your father as an heirloom, and you had the right to keep and bear that pistol as a right under our Constitution. Despite all these gifts that have been bestowed upon you,
What do you think his face is saying? What's he think? Like what is it giving? He's not crying really. He's probably angry, but look how little he looks. Like he's wearing a grown man suit and he's just a little thing. It's just what he looks like. Of course, he's a normal
nothing
sized man.
changes the fact that based upon all of the evidence, you shot the unarmed mother of your two young children in
He is
the
such
head.
we watched it too here to judge. Terrible.
I'm going to repeat
Idiot.
that. You shot the unarmed mother of your two young children
Yes, Tabby, it was.
in the head. The citizens of New Hampshire and society at large demand, and the law that I must enforce clearly supports, a lengthy sentence under all of the circumstances that have been presented. So if I could have you please stand, Mr. Duren. By virtue of all of the considerations that I have
Yes, Meowfie, and I know who
described,
you're
and after
talking about.
considering all of the evidence during trial and during
Creators.
these sentencing proceedings, I am adopting the requested sentences from the state of New Hampshire
Good.
with respect to each of the sentences. With respect to charge ID 223
Yeah, he is. That's it.
7508C for a crime of second-degree murder knowing occurring on February 29th, 2024. You are hereby sentenced to New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 45
I
years.
know the tall, hot blonde
nor less
case,
than
Dana.
life. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of the minimum term of the defendant's sentence, to be prorated for any part of the year. Pretrial confinement credit of 650 days. This sentence is to be served as follows. Stand committed. With respect to restitution, you shall pay restitution of $12,007.69 to victims' compensation.
Good luck getting that.
Restitution shall be paid through the correctional facility or Department of Corrections as directed by the probation/parole officer. A 17% administrative fee is assessed
Good, Grampy, I'm
for the
glad.
collection of restitution. The defendant is to participate meaningfully in and complete any counseling, treatment, and educational programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation/parole officer. Subject to the provisions of RSA 651-A:22-a, the Department of Corrections shall have the authority to award you earned time reductions against the minimum and maximum sentences for successful completion of programming while incarcerated. Law enforcement agencies may destroy the evidence or return evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all terms of this sentence. Further, you shall not profit in any manner for your role in committing these offenses, nor may you assign your rights to any monetary profit or financial benefit to any other person. Specifically, you may not accept any payment, enter into any contract, or sell rights regarding any book, film, television show, radio show, website, podcast, or any other writing, recording, broadcast, or internet posting relating to the murder of Caitlin Nafziger or to the defendant's actions therein. With respect to charge ID 2217223C.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I skipped one. I'm going to go back. With respect to 2217222C, which is a guilty verdict for reckless conduct with a deadly weapon, you are hereby sentenced to the New Hampshire State Prison for not more than 3.5 years, nor less than 7 years. There is added to the minimum sentence a disciplinary period equal to 150 days for each year of the minimum term of the defendant's sentence to be prorated for any part of the year. Pretrial confinement credit of 0 days. This sentence is to be served as follows. 3.5 years of the minimum and 7 years of the maximum is suspended. Suspensions are conditioned upon good behavior and compliance with all of the terms of this order. Any suspended sentence may be imposed after a hearing at the request of the state. The suspended sentence begins today and ends 10 years from release on charge ID 2237508C. This sentence is consecutive to case number and charge ID 2237508C. You are to participate meaningfully in and complete any counseling, treatment, and educational programs as directed by the correctional authority or probation/parole officer. Law enforcement agencies may destroy the evidence and return the evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all terms of the sentence. Further, consistent with the state's request, you shall have no contact with the family of Caitlin Nafziger, which includes Lori Smith, Bailey Nafziger, Heather Nafziger, and Brenda Plondon. The defendant shall have no contact, either directly or indirectly, including but not limited to contact in person, by mail, phone, email, text message, social messaging sites, or through third parties.
I don't know
and/or
what
VD,
kind of deal he's
unless
getting.
such contact is solicited by
I don't think
ED
he knows
and/or
either.
VD of their own volition, and such contact is in accordance with any applicable related agreements or court orders governing such contact. Further, the defendant must comply with any court orders concerning contact with ED and VD issued by any court having jurisdiction,
probably, Kevin.
including any orders issued by the Minnesota courts related to custody proceedings. Further, you shall not profit in any manner for your role in committing these offenses, nor may you assign your rights to any monetary profit or financial benefit to any other person. Specifically, you may not accept any payment, enter into any contract, or sell rights regarding any book, film, television show, radio show, website,
Yeah, he's a jerk,
podcast,
all right.
or any other writing, recording, broadcast, or internet posting relating to the murder of Caitlin Nafziger or for your actions therein. Finally, with respect to charge ID 2217223C for a guilty verdict of endangering the welfare of a child, this conviction is for a misdemeanor. It does not include as an element of the offense the use or attempted use of physical force or the threatened use of a deadly weapon. The defendant is sentenced to the House of Corrections for a period of 1 year. Pretrial confinement is 0 days. This sentence is concurrent with case number and charge ID 2237508C.
Hi, Elsie.
You are ordered to have no contact with the individuals set forth in 2217222C, either directly or indirectly, including but not limited to contact in person, by mail, phone, email, text message, social networking sites, and/or third parties. Law enforcement agencies may destroy the evidence or return the evidence to its rightful owner. You are ordered to be of good behavior and comply with all terms of the sentence. And further, you shall not profit in any manner for your role in committing these offenses, nor may you assign your rights to any monetary profit or financial benefit to any other person. Specifically, you may not accept any payment, enter into any contract, or sell rights regarding any book, film, television show, radio show, website, podcast, or any other writing, recording, broadcast, or internet posting relating to the murder of Caitlin Nafziger or to the defendant's actions herein. Finally, out of administrative completeness, with respect to charge ID ending in 2217721C, the guilty, which is...
Sorry, I have to pause this for a second. I mean, it's been going on for an hour and a half. Route Irish, oh, you did... I got that you're on tonight at 7:20, or is that not tonight anymore? Let me know. Let's get this over with. This, are we going to have to do this sentence with
is
him?
the reckless second-degree murder charge. The finding of guilty will be maintained, but no sentence is assigned with respect to that charge, it being duplicative to the other charge of second-degree murder knowing. Again, by virtue of all of the factors I have considered today, I am adopting the sentencing recommendations from the state of New Hampshire. Attorney Duren, anything further at this time?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
Attorney Kells.
No, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge. Mr. Duren, you are hereby notified that you have the right to apply for review of the state prison sentence imposed on you today. The application must be filed within 30 days after the date of the sentence, but not thereafter, except for good cause
I think he's going to need a turtle suit.
shown.
Stat.
If you file such an application, your sentence will be reviewed by a board of 3 members who will be either judicial referees and/or superior court judges. Review of the sentence may result in a decrease or an increase of the minimum or maximum term within the limits fixed by law, or there may be no change in the sentence. A form for making application, if you wish to do so, is set forth below. Judge, I'll just ask the record reflect that I'm going to hand Mr. Duren's attorneys a copy of this form, and the state has a similar application if they choose to apply.
Thank you, Clerk Kovalenko.
I don't think he's going to do well. Do you? In the very near future, especially. Yeah, he wanted a trad wife and didn't want to hold a job, so that's called crazy. Yeah, well, Route Irish is supposed to be on a podcast tonight on Mark's channel. Oh, okay. Aw. Tomorrow night works too. Just let me know what time, or I'll keep checking it out. I had set it to notify me tonight, but I'll keep looking. I'll take a look. I subscribe to that podcast channel or the YouTube channel. So, thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Elsie. I do too. You know, the problem is that, well, not the problem. The one that we wanted, that I'm going to go back to now, that we started watching yesterday, kind of impromptu, got no coverage today. So I assume the trial happened. I know it did, but I have a piece from it. But I thought we would watch they only have the state's opening, not the defense. So that's kind of. But I don't know if you saw the trailer. I did some research, and he is full of excuses, this guy, this Paul Hicks fellow. He said first that it was suicide, and then later, you know, he said that he had a twin brother, which I kind of figured because at one point they asked his sister, who we started watching for reasons, if he had a twin, and she was like, no. She had no idea why he was asking. I wonder if she figured it out, because to me, it's kind of obvious. Yeah, he does seem dazed and confused. And it's interesting that they let him wear a suit, actually. Because usually at this point, they're, you know, in their blues. It's called Mark's Channel. I'll post it. I'll find it and add it in a sec. So we have, right, so he also committed arson on his ex-girlfriend's house, that Paul Hicks guy we were watching last night, and wore a silicone mask of her face while doing so. Or at least ordered one. I don't know. But he's not the guy you want to break up with or get involved with, which I don't think will be possible because my guess is he's going away for a long time. So this is the ex-girlfriend testifying in the trial now, and then we'll watch the openings. And also, Dana, I know that tall, hot blonde case. That's a really interesting one.
New testimony in a decades-old murder case. This is a story 19 News continues to follow. The ex-girlfriend of a man accused of killing
silicone
his
mask.
wife took the stand today. We do want to warn you, some of this could be disturbing to see. Brittany Weir with what she says the suspect did to be a lie detector test.
Today, Paul Hicks's ex-girlfriend took the stand. She told jurors about his obsession with true crime and how he discussed ways to beat a polygraph test with her. But he didn't just talk about it, he bought a book on how to beat one.
Softback wasn't a hardback.
I don't know how he's still free, this guy.
But yeah, it was how to beat a lie detector.
Damaging new testimony in the murder trial of Paul
never
Hicks.
still.
I saw the book and asked him about it. And then that's...
Right,
he
Led
told me he was
Zeppelin,
just trying to
suit and
protect
tie.
himself.
His ex-girlfriend, Jansen Phipps, took the stand and told jurors about his obsession with beating a polygraph test.
That there
Oh,
were
tell Sharon I say hi,
ways
Grampy.
to beat a lie detector test. They only issue it because...
Oh, thanks. Is that it?
Almost like entrapment.
Yes. Thank you, Dandy.
He was the one everybody was pointing the finger at because he was the estranged husband.
She says the two also consistently watched crime shows.
We watched a lot of like forensic files, just shows about how people
Stairway
would
testimony.
get rid of
Right. Look at
evidence.
this.
Phipps also testified about a pair of muddy boots that Hicks owned. She says he was wearing them the day that Regina Rowe Hicks disappeared. Hicks later claimed the boots were stolen.
He had a pair of muddy boots from the day that Regina went missing because they were digging the pond, and he put them on his sister's back porch and somebody stole them.
Yeah, right? This is forever?
Prosecutors say Hicks killed his 25-year-old ex-wife in October of 2001. Her body was found 4 days later in her Camaro, submerged in a pond in Willard. Hicks now faces 3 counts of murder and 1 count of kidnapping.
I don't know why it's
if
3
convicted,
counts.
he could spend life in prison. The trial is expected to pick back up next week. Reporting, Brittany
Okay.
Weir, 19 News.
Well, they didn't cover it today.
We are ready for opening statements. Well, we start first with the party that has the burden of proof. That's the prosecutor, Mr. Combs.
Hang on a second.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not watching that. I don't know what that is. Oh, I know what that is. That's the woman who got lip injections and somehow managed to... Not good. Not good. So this is the... You recognize the staircase, courtroom, and the judge. So I guess this is just the state's opening statement.
He's a question, he's pretty dumb. He's very dumb. I got that question that he's pretty sure. He's got a 4 year minimum. When you read something about deer hunt, when we out there, so what read this about?
Look at this.
He's got a photographic memory. That's the defendant.
I'm not super thrilled with this attorney. I mean, I don't know exactly yet what he's like because I haven't seen that much of him, but in general, he's... But look at this presentation he put together. This looks like a sign for a science fair in high school, doesn't it? 3 exclamation marks, memory, 3 exclamation marks.
being interviewed by Dane Howard, who at the time was a Huron County deputy sheriff, and who later became county sheriff, and John Soraya. You can see John's bald spot. That's John Soraya. John's a BCI agent. We're talking about Steve Gates. Steve Gates' picture is on the left of the screen in front of you. The defendant is next to him. The defendant is talking about Steve Gates having a photographic memory. This is the state of Ohio versus Paul Hicks. And Steve Gates has a photographic memory. I'm Senior Assistant Ohio Attorney General Dan Casares. You met Micah Alt yesterday. Micah is to my right. Huron County Prosecutor Jim Sirley is to Micah's right. And we are the attorneys for the state of Ohio in this case. Well, who are you going to hear from? What are the witnesses going to tell you? And what is this all about? You're going to hear from
Hi, Margarita.
people who are going to tell you the story of Regina Hicks, the story of the murder of Regina
This guy,
Hicks.
apparently, this
The storytellers
suspect
are
has a
friends of
photographic
Regina Hicks,
memory, is what they're saying.
Family members of Regina Hicks, Paul Hicks's family members, Paul Hicks's girlfriends he had in 2001.
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
And the girlfriend he had in 2024 and 25. Law enforcement.
So I guess it's not just the haircuts and everything else, but the technology is also not cutting edge, it seems.
People who work for the sheriff's department, people who work.
I mean, it's not foam core of blown up photographs like Mr. James Owens, but
BCI, Bureau of Criminal Investigation, medical people, or coroners, the Huron County coroner, and she happened to be the Lucas County coroner up in Toledo, an expert on homicide scenes from the Ohio Highway Patrol, and you'll hear from, in interviews, what the defendant gave. You'll hear the defendant's words in at least 2 interviews that he gave to law enforcement. His web of deception that he attempted to spread when he spoke with law enforcement. You hear how the defendant tried to manipulate a lie detector test, which he'd agreed to take. You're going to hear how the defendant made up a twin brother that he didn't have, never had, and tried to blame what happened to Regina Hicks on the twin brother. It's in a letter that the defendant wrote his friend Lisa Carroll. And you'll hear recorded conversations between the defendant and Lisa Carroll. Now, this happened back on August 18th,
okay, Grampy.
2001.
Talk to you later. Thank you.
That day, and it's set at 6:48. There was light wind, temperatures in the 50s, little or no rain. Typical October day, 2 weeks before Halloween in the Willard area.
Yeah, they are here to
Huron
judge.
County, Ohio. Specifically, 221 North Washington Street, 4463 Town Line Road 12, just outside of Willard, and a pond located at
Oh, I'm so glad, Kellyanne. I'm so happy to hear
Section Line
that.
Road 30 in
Good.
Willard. The pond is owned by Richard Metcalf, and you'll have a map, just like you see in front of you, showing you these locations. This crime happened, these crimes happened in Huron County, Ohio, in these locations. Now, to understand
Robert,
what happened here on October 18th, you have to go back to Willard High School.
not key witness.
Regina Rowe,
Suspect, I
Paul
thought.
Hicks
Or was it
in
key
high
witness?
They date in high school. They spend a lot of time together in high school. Paul lives with his mother, Jewel, and father, Jackie. Regina lived with her father, Raleigh, and mother, LaSalle Rowe. Regina, however, did spend a lot of time with Paul Hicks and at Paul Hicks's house. Paul Hicks, Regina Rowe's family consists of
course he made up a
Charles
twin.
and Chad, Aunt Janet, Uncle Denny.
That's when you're
Uncle
supposed to
Eddie,
do it. In second
Uncle
grade,
Carl,
you're going to make up a
and Uncle
twin.
Jimmy.
Come on.
And she had a lot of cousins. Dustin Patrick, Angela
Thank
Rowe,
you, Robert.
Jessica Bays, and others. The defendant, his mother, is Jewel.
Because he was charged with 3 counts of murder, but I was like, but he only murdered one person, but Robert says that he
Hicks.
explains it. He may have
His
already
sister,
explained it and I didn't hear it.
Crystal Hicks, the son that he had with Montana, with Regina, Montana Hicks, and a couple girlfriends, Donna Cox and Jansen Phipps. On October 1st, 1997, Montana Hicks was born.
Yeah.
The couple married a short time later. Regina Hicks would not be able to conceive any more children. Paul and Regina's marriage was not doing very well. It began to crumble.
Yeah. Hi, Katie.
They moved around a lot. There was, in the last couple of months of Regina's life, there was verbal abuse, threats. There was a house fire. The couple lived in a house on Route 99. During the house fire resulted in Regina losing a lot of things that her father had given her. The house fire really was the last straw for Regina. She decided it was time to end the marriage. The parties split the proceeds from the insurance company from the house fire, and Regina was breaking away from Paul Hicks. And that was in July of 2001. In September of 2001, the parties are discussing getting divorced, and the defendant wants custody of Montana. The defendant does not want to pay child support for Montana. So what does the defendant do? The defendant plants drugs in Regina Hicks's car. Some moldy old marijuana and a few pills. He has his friend Steve Gates contact Huron County Sheriff with a tip that there's a motor vehicle being driven by Regina Hicks driving through Willard. And he knew the vehicle was driving through Willard because he was watching the vehicle drive through Willard.
From the beginning, you mean?
The police act on the tip. They pull Regina over and her passenger, Jamie Dutton, and they
You mean
Regina
like
out of the
in
car,
this part where
and they
the...
ask Regina, can we search?
Let's see, we can fast forward a second.
He's got a photographic memory. That's the defendant being interviewed by Dane Howard, who at the time was a Huron County deputy sheriff, and who later became county sheriff. And John Soraya, you can see John's bald spot. That's John Soraya. John's a DCI agent. You're talking about Steve Gates. Steve Gates' picture is on the left of the screen in front of you, the defendant.
His lawyer does not look happy.
The defendant is talking about Steve Gates having a photographic memory.
Thank you, Robert.
This
Now
is the state of Ohio
now I get it.
versus Paul Hicks. And Steve Gates has a photographic memory. I'm Senior Assistant Ohio Attorney General Dan Casares. You met Micah Alt yesterday. Micah is to my right. Huron County Prosecutor Jim Sirley is to Micah's right. And we are the attorneys for the state of Ohio.
Okay.
In this case.
This isn't a Miss America contest. Shut up.
Who are you going to hear from?
That doesn't matter.
In interviews that the defendant gave, You'll hear the defendant's words in at least 2 interviews.
I'm fast forwarding a little bit.
This crime happened
until we get to where we were
in Huron County, Ohio, in these locations. Now, to understand this and others, the defendant, his mother is Jewel Hicks, his sister, Crystal Hicks.
She's the one we saw yesterday, Crystal Hicks.
Montana, with Regina, Montana Hicks, and a couple girlfriends, Donna Cox.
All right, going back.
The defendant would tell whoever would listen that Regina Hicks was on drugs.
What an
that
idiot.
Regina Hicks was a drug addict, that her family was a bunch of drug traffickers. He fully expected
Thank you,
at
Robert.
autopsy, he's telling the police, and you'll hear him tell the police there's going to be a bunch of drugs in her system. At autopsy, the only thing in her system was acetaminophen. Regina Hicks is now asserting independence from the defendant. She's with Mike Perkins. She bought her dream car, that 1994 white Chevy Camaro. She's looking at buying a 4-wheeler. She gets a tattoo. She's buying new clothing. She has
Welcome, Elsie. I thought you were a sexy person already.
Refused to loan the defendant some money when he asked for it.
Hey, April.
The defendant wanted shared parenting. Regina changed her mind and said, you know what? I want custody. I want you to pay me child support. On October 18th, 2021.
Thank you, Joette.
That's the day that Regina Hicks' life
Hang on.
ended.
$5 and answers. What's better than that? Suma, the reason they charged him with 3 crimes is so the prosecution has the flexibility of giving 3 different possibilities of how the murder was committed. So you mean like 1st degree, 2nd degree, or different kind of murder? Thank you. Okay, Maria Garita. See you in a sec. Hi, Robin. Oh, okay. So I'm not losing my mind in that regard. Plus, I knew you were very sexy, so I was like, how is this possible? Well, thanks for rejoining. Okay.
Both, the day began with Regina and Montana together. Regina drops Montana off at Jewel Hicks' house. Jewel Hicks.
This is smart, you see? Thank you, Katie.
Mother. The defendant picks Montana up at Jewel Hicks' house and calls Steve Gates and says to Steve Gates, hey, let's work on your property on Town Line Road 12. Steve Gates was in the process of building a pond.
Welcome,
on Town Line Road 12 on his property, the property we drove by this morning. The pond was going to be located where those huge propane tanks are on the property. Obviously, the pond wasn't built, but this is where they were building the pond, and you'll see pictures of the pond being built. So that day, Paul Hicks and Steve Gates worked on the pond. It was muddy, it was wet, a little wet. They worked on the pond. Jansen Phipps, Paul Hicks' girlfriend, stops by on the way to work around 4 o'clock, 4:15. She worked at the Havana Tavern.
It happens, Led Zepp. Happens to the best of us. I'm allergic, so it can't happen to me.
Lori Gates, Lori Greer at the time, Steve Gates' girlfriend, She was helping Steve also.
You're a sexy person now.
Doing things in the house. You see, Steve Gates was rehabbing the entire house, the entire property. So when he and Lori would later marry, they could move there and live there. Montana Hicks was present that day. He and his dad were four-wheelers. They did what a typical dad and son would do, on a particular day. That's what Paul Hicks was doing on October 18th. And there's a picture of the pond that they were building. Regina Hicks, on the other hand, was doing something completely different. Regina Hicks dropped her son off at Joel Hicks's house, went to Burger King and bought some food, bought some French fries. And that's kind of important. We actually have the receipt that Regina Hicks, showing what Regina Hicks bought at Burger King. She then goes back home, leaves the receipt in her house, and then picks up Mike Perkins. And the screen in front of you, there's a picture of Mike Perkins, and takes exhibit 1A, a picture of Regina. She picks up Mike Perkins, and they drive to Mansfield. And they go shopping at Mansfield. They go to, I think it's FYE, JCPenney's. They go to Bed and Bath Body Works. They spend the day in Mansfield. She had asked her friend, a couple of her friends to go to Mansfield with her. They could not go, so she ended up going with Mike Perkins. On the way back, she stops at Uncle Denny's house. And at Uncle Denny's house, on the way back to Mansfield.
Okay. So Robert Botello says, my understanding is the 3 counts are all first-degree murder counts. He's on the edge of the death penalty if they can prove he robbed her and took her money. He didn't take her car, but he did steal the car also. What does that become, like a capital murder? Is that what that is? Would more people like Baileys-based or eggnog-based Christmas drinks? I hate eggnog, so I can't tell. Yeah, well, I would go with what you like, but most people would probably like... I think people actually like both. Baileys is different. It's classy. Go for it. That's my advice. Also, give me your address and tell me what time to show up, because this sounds like quite the get-together. Oh, so you have a Helen or a Keller yourself? And you haven't mentioned it every minute?
So her brother's there, a couple of her cousins are there, her Uncle Denny, her Uncle Carl, and they're talking. Regina's in a good mood. They're talking about what they're going to do that night. And Regina makes arrangements. And she calls the defendant a couple times. One of the calls, she makes arrangements to pick her son up at Steve Gates' property at 8 o'clock. So after Regina...
so he planted drugs, not good drugs, because he probably wanted to keep those for himself, in her car, which he drowned her in. This fucking guy.
Her uncle's property, which is on the way back to Mansfield. She goes to 221 Washington. 221 Washington is where Mike Perkins lived. And Mike Perkins lived in that house with a couple friends. And one of the friends' name was Derek Hall. Derek Hall didn't have a car. In fact, neither did Mike Perkins. Derek Hall needed a ride to work. He worked at Hardee's. Regina agreed that, yeah, Derek, sure, I'll take you to work after I pick up Montana, which was right around the corner from where, 5 minutes away from 221 Washington Street. Regina, the plan was to pick up her son, drop her son off at her mother's house, come back, pick up Derek Hall, take Derek Hall to work, and then go out and sing karaoke. That was her plan.
Oh, right, karaoke dance.
At 8 o'clock, Regina arrived at
Thank you, Elsie.
4463 Town Line Road 12. That's the property owned by Steve Gates. And you see a picture of Steve Gates' house. It takes you to the 25. We were out there this morning.
Yeah, we're coming over.
And Steve Gates' house and the car garage, he calls it a car garage, just to the east of the house.
Oh, he's a Chihuahua.
Regina, when she arrives, drives down the railroad access road,
Chihuahua,
which
spicy.
is just to the west of the house, and drives in to the backyard. She gets out of the car, and there's an immediate argument with the defendant. They're screaming and yelling at each other, pointing at the ground, arguing about Montana. Steve Gates witnesses this. Steve Gates, he'll tell you on the witness stand, I don't want anything to do with another one of their arguments. So he goes in the car garage, and he's tinkering with a truck or a tractor. And he puts on WIOT 104.7, and he's listening to rock music. So he's inside the garage for 20, 25 minutes.
Idiot earned his
When he
right.
comes out of the
Irish.
garage,
Amazing. Oh, shit.
The car has now been moved.
So I think that Hear Me Out is going to go live later tonight around 6:30 his time. So like 8:30 the other time, the right time. But he might be later. I predict he might be later than that, but I don't know. I think he's probably going over the last of, today at the Walshe trial. So if we're still here, we can go over there. And if not, then we can see each other over there or live your life, you know?
It's been moved from that area by the access road. It's been moved to the area by
That's the thing,
farmers.
Disney Mom, about
Now, where that
eggnog.
huge propane tank is. And Steve Gates sees the car has been moved.
Yeah.
And he sees the light on.
Here to judge.
The dome light on.
He drowned her in a
on the
dream car.
So he walks up to the car, walks down the driveway there, the road.
Because
and
Dana Lynn,
when
it's
he
a
gets
waste
to
of
the car,
it's a waste of
he's
good
on the
new
driver's
coffee.
side of the car. The passenger
Doesn't have to
door
be
is
all.
open.
That's my guess. Maybe I'm
The
wrong.
passenger door is full of mud marks. He sees Regina crumpled at the passenger floorboard. Right, hanging on, like sitting sort of on a chair, the passenger chair.
You mean the Walshe, right,
The alarm
Katie?
light is on the floorboard. And
Walshe
he sees her and says, we gotta help her. We gotta call 911.
Yeah, it's very
The guy
sad.
says, fuck
I
it.
hate this fucking
She's
guy.
dead. He says, no, we gotta get her help. We gotta help her. Fuck it, she's dead. Get in the car and follow me.
What's
Montana Hicks was sleeping in the back seat of Paul Hicks's car. So you have Paul Hicks's car that's on the property with Montana in the back seat. And you have Regina Hicks's Camaro with Regina Hicks unconscious on the passenger side of her car, the front passenger seat of her car. Paul Hicks had apparently struck Regina in the head.
Yes,
3
Dandy.
bruises on her head.
So that's why the old coffee.
Pathologists will tell you occurred shortly before she went into the water, shortly before she drowned. We don't know what she was struck with. We don't have the weapon that was used, but we know she was struck in the head.
Yeah, he's a menace,
Also-
as Forever was just saying. He's just
Fingertip bruising under her arms as if she was dragged. There's
The
evidence
thing is, like, he tries to, just judging from that last crime, which was 10 years ago, which he took a plea on, I don't think did any time for, disgraceful. He burned her house down wearing a mask of her, already very dastardly, and then blamed her. And even this, like, he's just setting it up so that he planted drugs in her car. It's so stupid. And he had a book on how to pass a polygraph.
she was dragged because
I mean, it's so much work. Just move on with your life. What are you doing?
mud.
I guess it's also money.
Mud on her back.
Also, I don't know, we didn't talk about this, but Regina had just inherited a lot of money. So, like $400,000, I think. I could be wrong. That might just be what Walshe owed. But money was involved, of course.
She's been placed in the car
in both crimes
by the defendant. And we're going to have testimony that it was nothing for the defendant to carry his wife. He's carried her over his shoulder in the past. He's carried her in his arms. He's carried her.
Hi, sweet.
He puts her in the car. And as
I thought it was her house.
The car door was open, and that's when Steve Gates gets to the car.
Right, with cameras. Genius that he is.
The car itself tells a story.
But was he wearing the mask?
On the car are still there. They're still on the door, preserved 24 years later. And they show how Regina Hicks was placed.
Thanks, Derek. It's not.
In the passenger
I've been through this.
seat of that car. No 911 following.
I don't know if it was.
So what is
I don't think it was custody. I don't think he cared about that.
With Montana.
I could be wrong. Maybe.
Supposedly asleep in the back seat, and follows the defendant. And what does the defendant do? He gets on County Line Road 12, makes a left, and heads to the pond. With Steve Gates following him.
Yes, Katie, that chapter.
12, the defendant driving the Camaro.
Oh, his house.
To the
It
pond.
was hers for some reason, but.
Now, the defendant
Oh, right, and then he
himself
said she burnt it down. That makes more sense.
1969 Camaro.
Thank you.
The defendant himself owned a Mercury
Only one
Tracer.
dead woman. One woman
Defendant
who's.
himself owned
Two different
the
dead
Geo
women?
Prism. The Geo Prism
Two different
and the
fires?
Mercury Tracer are small cars.
Did someone die in
the
that
defendant is 6'4", 6'5". The defendant does not have a problem driving a small car, whether it be a Camaro
Someone he
that he
hired.
owned, or whether it be Regina's Camaro, or whether it be a Mercury Tracer or Geo Prism. So he drives
Right.
the County Line
He has to
Road
have control,
12.
especially any woman who has his
Steve Gates
child.
follows. Section Line Road 12 to Section Line Road 30. When they make the right on the Section Line Road 30, Paul Hicks immediately makes a left onto that access road where the Camaro was parked this morning.
But this woman wasn't in a fire, she was just drowned. That's
Makes
all.
the right, and Steve Gates can't quite get into the access road because the Camaro's there. So he turns around, the first farmhouse on the right, he turns around. And after he turns around, he drives back to the pond. And as he's driving back to the pond, he sees the defendant drive the car into the pond, over the hill and into the pond. Regina Hicks was alive. She was alive in the car, and the car went in the pond. There was water in her sinus cavity. There was other water in her system. She was alive. That's where the kidnapping count comes from. Moving a live person from one scene to another, with purpose to cause serious physical harm. That's where the murder comes from. Purposely causing her death, driving that car into the pond. Driving that car into the pond after he kidnapped her, driving that car into the pond after he struck her, rendering her unconscious. Now the car, and there's a picture of the pond as it looked the next
Yes,
day.
Kim stole my fish soap. We're back in Milan for Fashion Week. Carhartt is all the rage
The
this
driver's
season.
side window was open.
Me too, Katie. The first time I saw that, I was like,
Was about half open.
I'm sold.
The
It's
vents
amazing.
were open, the lights were off. The car's in second gear. This isn't an automatic car. This
That
is
chapter when he does the life insurance dance.
The tilt for
And
the
he's like
steering
working
wheel
out.
is all the way up. Regina's in the
Hi,
passenger
Shelly
seat,
Beans.
and the defendant's driving.
Same courtroom, similar hairdos.
Drives the
It's
car into the pond.
this is the opening,
Regina
the
hits drives.
state's opening.
Well, what happens next? On the way back.
Okay. Now I understand what Robert is saying. It's a good thing you're here, Robert. So the mask is where he burned the girlfriend's house down. Oh, his girlfriend is dead now also, but well, they had the girl testifying whose house he burnt down, right? So she's alive, but the ex-wife is dead. That was the drowning in the Camaro. Knocked her unconscious and made her right and put her in the car and then drove it in the pond. That's what that was that crime. This is Forever Wonder says, have you ever seen the Iwu guy who lived in a shack with his common law wife and suddenly inherits 17 million? She kills him. That again. Because she thinks she can get the money. It turns out it was a scam anyway. Oh, yeah. I saw something about it. I didn't see the whole thing. But serves you right. Terrible. How terrible. My God.
The defendant calls Regina and leaves a voicemail. Hey, where you at? You didn't come at 8 o'clock to pick up Montana. He might even left the couple. He did it in Steve Gates's presence. He then calls Jansen Fitz at 9:06 and tells Jansen, hey, Regina didn't show up. I'm at Steve Gates's house. I'm going to take Montana to my sister's house. Meet me there
Right.
after work.
So
after the fire of the house on
the woman from that fire in
after the
2015 is
defendant and
alive.
his wife
We saw her on the stand
split up.
earlier. I don't think
The
you were here
defendant's
yet,
living with
sweet.
his sister Crystal. And you're here, you will hear his sister Crystal
Right, with her in it.
testify about that today.
Wait, what? You mean the car with her in it?
The defendant is muddy when he gets in the car. He's wet. He just climbed out of a pond. Steve Gates will tell you that there was no reason for the defendant to be muddy or the defendant to be wet,
I love Carhartt.
other than the fact that he climbed out of the pond. There are scratches on him. And when his girlfriend and sister notice the scratches on him, he makes up an excuse. Oh, a tree fell on me. But he wasn't cutting any trees down that day that fell on him. And not only that, when he was interviewed by the police actually take his shirt off and ask him about the bruises on his back. And he says, oh, I got
Oh,
hurt.
he's a suspect in his ex-girlfriend's
Never
death
tells
too.
the police his story about
Wow.
scratch
I'm gonna have to
marks on
look
his
really
neck
into this
coming
guy,
from a
into this
tree.
guy.
Maybe because the scratches on his neck didn't come from a tree. Maybe they came from Regina. In any event,
Yeah, he had several girlfriends.
the defendant
Hard to
makes
believe,
a
I
mess
know.
at
Brown
Crystal's
Irish.
house. He turns the bathtub into a mud pond. Mud in the bathroom. I mean, you can make a mud pie with the mud that was in the bathtub. The evidence is going to show.
Oh, maybe. I thought it was. I think it's his glasses are on his head, and he's got one of those things on
When
it.
Crystal comes home from
See if we
work,
can see him. Hang
she
on.
walks into her house and she has a fit. She sees
Yeah, it's
all
his
this
glasses
mud.
on his head.
So The mud gets cleaned up.
I just have it up so that we can see the captions if people need it. Shit.
End up on the back porch of Crystal's house. Jansen Phipps gets off of work around 11:30. She goes to the Ash Street home of Crystal Hicks and spends the evening with Crystal and the defendant.
Yeah, this might be deep dive worthy.
This is going to tell you.
He gets up. This.
She knew what he was doing, but he got up.
Yeah, he does have a
But the next day, the boots are gone. And the defendant says, oh, someone stole my boots. Someone stole my boots. So, the weekend of October 19, 2001, Regina Hicks is in her car in a pond, and she's dead. Now, people are looking for Regina. Her brother, Mike Perkins, they're out driving around looking for Regina. Guess who isn't looking for Regina? The defendant. The defendant's playing softball all day Saturday, part of the day Sunday. He's out getting drunk. He's out with girlfriend Jansen, making plans also to be with girlfriend Donna Cox.
There are a few that call her Miss Potato Head too. I mean, it's perfect for her.
Mike Perkins blew up Regina's cell phone and answering machine looking for her. The defendant does make a couple phone calls, but we actually have the answering machine that was in her house, and we actually have all the incoming messages asking Regina, where are you? We have the cell phone messages that people left on her cell phone.
Tanika, I don't know why that keeps happening. Hi. I just don't get it. I mean,
Saturday afternoon,
I'm glad you're here.
That would be the 20th.
Strange.
Roger Whetstone goes to the pond. Roger's dad, Richard, owns the pond, owns the property, the farm in the area. And Roger goes to the pond, and Roger sees something sticking out, appears to be right on the surface of the water. He thinks it's a jet ski. So Roger goes back and talks to his dad, says, hey Dad, there's a jet ski in the pond. And his dad kind of brushes it aside and says, all right, we'll get to it. So the next day was Sunday, it rained, so they didn't make an attempt to find out what was in the pond. The following day is Monday, and that would be the 21st. And Roger Whetstone and his dad go to a neighbor's house and they get a boat, a rowboat. And they take some rope with them and a hook. And what they're going to do is they're going to hook the jet ski and tie the rope from the hook to the truck that they own.
Yeah, Fletcher Boy, that's the defendant.
That's the plan. So they go back to the pond, and Roger gets in the boat, rows out, wasn't that far away, he rows out to this object, and he hooks the object. And then from there, the other end of the rope is connected to the truck. And the truck goes forward. And they begin to pull this object
Everything does come back to Lauren.
Water. And then the hatchback pops open as the rear end of the Camaro is coming out of the water, and they see it's a car. Some items that were in the car floated out of the car and onto the shore. Regina Hicks' purse, the FYE bag, some other bags floated to the surface. When they see this is a car and not a jet ski, they go back to their house and they call the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department comes out. Sheriff's department comes out, but they're not alone. They also bring the Willard Fire Department has divers, a dive team. These divers go into the water, and they'll describe to you what happened when they went into the water. It was cold, it was dark, they actually couldn't see. They're blind. going into the water. So they go into the water, and when they go on the passenger side of the vehicle, they put their hands through the window, they feel an arm, they feel a neck, they feel a head.
Yeah,
We have
it
a
is
person
wild. It's
in
a
this
crazy
car.
case.
They tell the sheriff, Sheriff Sutherland, who went to the scene, that there's a body in this car. At that point in time, the tow truck pulls the vehicle out of the car. The car then is taken from the scene to the Willard Police Department, where it can be processed. Divers, they find the body, pull the car out, they take it to the
I think I
Willard
figured out
Police
why the
Department. They gather material
thumbnail
from
isn't
the car. Whatever was in the car, shopping, compact, or CDs, makeup, female hygiene, was gathered as evidence. They take pictures. They take pictures of the vehicle, they take pictures of Regina Hicks, they take pictures of the pond. They document everything that they can. They process the car. They actually measured the distance, the door distance, also the distance between the seat and the ceiling. John Soraya.
Yeah, Katie, this defendant is busy doing all the wrong things exclusively.
After the car is pulled from the pond.
Yes.
And there's the drawing or the work that John Soraya did measuring the car.
I don't know what took them so long here to judge. It's ridiculous.
They bring the defendant in. The defendant implies that Regina committed suicide. Implies that she's not stable. Says she was on drugs. Says she was a drug addict. Says that she never showed up. She never came to Steve Gates' house. She said that she was hanging around drug dealers, Mike Perkins and other drug dealers, and her Uncle Carl was the biggest drug dealer in Willard, and her family's full of drug dealers, and he said that Regina drowned. He actually said that Regina drowned before the coroner determined that Regina drowned. He was offered to take a polygraph. And he agreed. Steve Gates was also interviewed. Steve Gates discussed what happened on October 18th. He tells the sheriff that Regina didn't show up. And he tells the sheriff that he left around 9 o'clock, went to an ATM machine, which is true, went and got his clothes from his mother's house, which is true, and went to work, which is true. But he lied. And he's going to get up on the witness stand, and he's going to admit to you that he lied. He lied to the sheriff's department. He lied for 24 years.
Yeah, he's charged with kidnapping too. Then drowned, then murder. Yeah, murder.
Well, they're investigating.
It is capital murder, right? But he has 3 charges of murder.
And the defendant's investigation is how to manipulate a
They should just take him outside and shoot him by the dumpster. That's what they
watches
should do.
movies, reads books, learns what drug he can
Yeah, Led
take,
Zepp, he might be enjoying
learns
himself a
what
little bit.
what drug he can drink. The day the polygraph is scheduled, he buys a 5th of Jim Beam and drinks a couple shots from it. And he admits it. He tells Mike White that this is what he did. He also admits to taking 3 Xanax, 5 milligrams Xanax that he claims a buddy gave him the day he was supposed to take the polygraph. Or recognizing this attempt to manipulate the polygraph.
The skin
Mike
thing?
White,
This is forever? The skin cream?
decides I'm going to talk you
I
about
do.
taking the polygraph.
I've used it.
And that's what he does. The polygraph test is never administered. And Mike White asked him, well, the defendant actually walked in and kind of, at the beginning, told Mike White what he had done. And you'll have the transcript
Robert.
of the interview that Mike White conducted with the defendant, and you'll actually see it.
You mean the
And we'll have
authorities are scared of him,
transcript
or
on the screen on the
the
right,
other
and we'll have the interview
family?
on the left, so you can watch Mike White interview the defendant and other people for that matter too, and you can read.
Interesting.
what
Right,
he said.
the other families. Wow.
The investigation goes cold. After a period of time, no new leads come in, and the investigation goes cold. And from 2005 to 2015, it was pretty cold. Every now and then, Dave Battles was working on some things, and you'll hear Dave Battles testify. He was putting together phone summaries. Every now and then, somebody would be interviewed by Dave Battles and Dane Howard.
Yeah, I have some tips.
But the case went cold. Until about 2015.
Just going to pause this for a second because this is important. You have to start using it like once every 3 or 4 days. And this is retin-A we're talking about. And if you use it on your face when it's wet, or if you put a moisturizer on before you apply it, it's not as strong. So that's what I would start, is put moisturizer on and then add it sparingly, of course. And once a week is how I would start it, if you're good at that. I mean, I'm not good at like knowing how, I just kind of sporadic about it, but eventually you get used to it, and it's a pain in the ass. So in order to beat a polygraph, I just have to pretend it's a good Saturday night for me? Yeah. I mean, unless it's not Saturday.
2015, the BCI is now involved in
Oh, you could do what Dan D says. Clinch
as
your
well
butthole.
as the Ohio Attorney General's Organized Crime Unit section. And there's an attorney from the Organized Crime Unit section.
Yes, I left it on all night. I put it on very sparingly and went go to sleep. I mean, tossing, turning,
And Dane
go to sleep.
Howard and this attorney meet with Steve Gates.
Also, I don't know if you know, are they called like the Skin Doctorly or something like that? There's a site. If you don't know it, I'll look. It's two guys. They're they're dermatologists, and they have pretty good. I think they do things on retin-A and tell you how to use it and stuff like that.
In 2015, and Steve Gates says, "Hey, I want to talk to my lawyer. My lawyer's name is Neil McGowan. Here's his card. Call him." Steve Gates wanted to talk
Have you cracked?
in 2015.
Right.
What happened? Nobody called Neil McGowan. Law enforcement dropped the ball. Did not contact.
Yeah,
Neil
you need
McGowan.
to have sunscreen on, even,
So, it's a picture of Dane Howard and Steve Gates.
I hate lie detectors tests. Hi, Ravina. I don't think they should even be allowed, honestly, because they're a cop-out for all these
Steve Gates
detectives.
is giving Dane Howard,
Hi, Helen, someone.
card and asking the attorney from the Attorney General's office to contact Neil McGowan. Well, that never happened.
Yeah, go slow. Don't worry. You have several years. You can,
The case,
get used to
however,
it.
Steve Gates wanted
The peeling is the worst.
but no one.
I don't use it aggressively because I get lazy about it.
2019, by this time, BCI agent Chris Hamburg is now in charge of the investigation. And Lori Braunschweiger is assisting him. Lori is a criminal analyst.
Yeah,
for
Craig Pepper.
BCI.
They're good, right?
And
Are they?
Lori
What are
will
they
testify
called?
on witness stand
I want to say
about the
doctorly,
investigation.
but I'm not sure
In
why.
2019, BCI is now investigating new leads.
Right, Tanika.
The leads proved to be false.
And no vitamin
but
C
they're investigating
topicals with
new
it.
leads. Jim Sitterly is a new county prosecutor. New vision. New way of doing things. And Jim Sitterly wants the special prosecution section of the Ohio Attorney General's office.
I thought they were the same
assist.
thing.
And that's where Micah and I come in. In 2000,
Angela
the judge
Simpson.
appoints the Attorney General's office to assist the Huron County prosecutor. in
No,
the
the
case.
peeling stops after a
And the
while.
investigation
I've never
starts
actually
at
gotten to
this
that
time
point, but I
period.
think maybe once I did. It does stop. Your skin gets used to it. People eventually use it every day.
Scores of people are re-interviewed. This wasn't some internet fad started by some podcaster in 2024. This was an investigation that started in 2021, 2022, where more than 80 people were interviewed. More than 80 people were.
Yeah, well, you can't use topical vitamin C with it, right, Jackie?
And Chris Hamburg went through to get these people interviewed. Now we're in
right,
the winter,
Dandy.
2024, 2025, and it's time to meet with Steve Gates. So we meet with Steve Gates.
If the detective is good and they're using the lie detector as a tool to manipulate, but most detectives that we see really don't have those kind of skills, you know? It's just ridiculous. It's one of the reasons I think that there are that they arrest the wrong person. Joe Kenda, the homicide hunter, would never use a polygraph.
And Steve Gates asserts his Fifth Amendment rights and hands me his lawyer's business card, Bernard Davis. And you'll see Bernard Davis in the courtroom when Steve Gates testifies. I call his lawyer. We have a meeting at Bernard Davis's office with Doug Burke, the case agent, Chris Hamburg, the former case agent, Micah, Jim Sirley, myself, and Lori. We meet with Bernard Davis, and he tells us, he said, look, my guy's kept this inside of him for 24 years. He hasn't even told his wife. He wants to He wants to tell you everything he remembers, everything he knows about Paul Hicks.
Hey, classy.
Killed his wife. But he wants immunity.
Now we're just missing
He wants
Danielle.
immunity from prosecution. He's not involved in the killing. He's involved in the cover-up because he lied to the sheriff's department about what happened.
We have Dan D, we have Tanika, we have classified crime. Hear me out, in and out.
Jim Sirley, the county prosecutor, says, okay.
Right, and it doesn't stand up in court, so what's the point?
Give Steve Gates immunity.
Ridiculous.
The judge is asked to give Steve Gates immunity, and he grants Jim's request, the state of Ohio's request, and Steve Gates.
And sociopaths can pass them, no problem, so.
And he will testify.
And not just sociopaths.
Except he is not immune from perjury or obstructing justice. He can't get on the witness stand and perjure himself or obstruct justice. Steve Gates wants immunity, he gets it. He's on dialysis 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. He's in kidney failure. After 24 years of holding it in.
Right, he knew she had money on her.
Like I said,
they asked about that. Hi, Jeremy.
And what does he tell us? He tells us that Regina Hicks was there at 8 o'clock at night to pick up Montana. He tells us that Paul and Regina Hicks argued. So he went in the car garage.
Yeah, life experience, and
he tells us that he was in the car garage for 20, 25 minutes.
You have to have a good instinct about
saw
those
the car
things.
removed and the dome-light was on. Walked up to the car and saw Regina Hicks motionless in the passenger floorboard.
I use a lot of The Ordinary products. I like them.
Regina Hicks's car to the pond and drove Regina Hicks's car into the pond. He saw the car going into the pond.
Yeah,
he
me
saw
neither.
the
Classified.
Going into the pond.
I've tried it. It's not good. Yeah, she was 25. I'll show her.
Pond area, got in the car, said to Hicks. Hicks said to Gates, hey, you're involved. You're involved in this too. You gotta keep your mouth shut. And he did. And there's the picture of State Exhibit 90B, which is the access road to the pond. There are 2 concrete
That's her. When she was
at the end of the access road.
alive.
The
Obviously.
Evidence will be that the car was driven over the pond just to the left of the bricks or the stone. by the defendant.
I don't know what happened to her money. She had a son, so it probably went to him.
The charges. Count one.
She had a son with this
defendant
idiot.
purposely caused the death of Regina Hicks.
I forget what Azalek is supposed to do. I like their
It's a statute.
their vitamin C, and then they have an oil that you add with it.
Causing the death of another.
There's something else I like that's sort of an M. Matrexol, I think.
Violence is kidnapping. Count three is another count of murder, causing the death of
You
Regina
think,
Hicks,
Deborah?
after committing the offense of felonious assault.
Deborah says,
And count four is kidnapping.
I don't know about that.
The judge is going to define
Some
these
of them,
terms
but
for you and what they mean at the close of the case. The judge is going to, there's one death, but it's been charged.
yeah,
3 different
25
ways.
years old, classy.
The judge will explain all that to you. Judge Conway will explain all that to you at the close of the case. So you also may hear
Good, this is forever.
some additional testimony that Steve Gates is a liar. Well, that's true. He lied in 2001, he lied in 2002 when he was interviewed by the police. He could have continued lying.
Yeah, she does look sweet.
Nothing would have happened to him. He had nothing to gain by coming clean. Steve Gates will tell you that.
Also, he's an animal. I mean, look at his past crime and potential others crimes. I'm going to look up the
It's actually, can be, a lot of it can be corroborated.
years he's been.
It can be corroborated by Jimmy Patrick, Regina Hicks' uncle, who on his way to work saw Regina Hicks' car parked on Steve Gates' property.
Right, Dandy.
He worked for the railroad. He was driving down Town Line Road 12 on his way to, I think it was refill an engine, deal with an engine, and saw the vehicle. He saw the vehicle. You remember what you heard from the defendant himself about Steve Gates at the beginning of my presentation. He has a photographic memory. Steve Gates' testimony will be corroborated in some part by Jamie Dutton, by homicide scene
I'll be right back.
Wells,
I'm here.
by
I'm just
forensic
turning the camera
pathologist
off for a second
Diane Barnett,
so I can get up.
by the defendant's phone records, bank records, by employment records of Steve Gates. Steve Gates' testimony will make sense. And we believe that the evidence will show you that the defendant killed his wife. You're also going to hear the defendant talking about, in his interviews with the police, his wife, talking about her drug use. She's a drug addict, suicidal, mentally unstable. But the evidence is going to be you can't commit suicide when someone else is driving your car, and you're in the passenger seat, and the car doesn't go upon. There's no evidence that Regina Hicks was driving that vehicle. There's no evidence that Regina Hicks floated from the passenger seat, from the driver's seat to the passenger seat, which is what would have had to happen if she was going to commit suicide. But relatives will also tell you,
Hey, Barry Adams.
that day, she was not suicidal. She was in good spirits, feeling great, happy to be moving on with her life and getting away from the defendant. There's no evidence in her system at autopsy of drugs, other than acetaminophen. None whatsoever. She was happy, moving on with her life, with a new man. In a jail call, the defendant tells his son, or in a call, recorded phone call, the defendant tells his son Montana, and you'll hear that phone call, that he thought Regina just got drunk. He made that claim. Just wondering, the defendant said, or Montana says, right, the defendant says, just continue working over this. I thought your mom got drunk again and was hungover, and that's why she didn't show up.
He's such a type, this guy.
So she's
like
either
a type
drunk,
of criminal.
She's a drunk, or she's committing suicide. There was no alcohol found in her system either. What was found in her system were those French fries that she bought the bird
Forgot about obsession.
earlier in the day. So
Hi, Grampy.
the evidence is going to be that the defendant had the motive to kill Regina Hicks. The evidence is going to be that it's the defendant who benefits from the death of Regina Hicks.
Regina, Montana, when he was 3.5, 4 years old, and Montana said he was only
Wow, that's interesting, Robert.
Which he was.
I don't know why more people aren't covering this case. I guess because of stupid Brian Walsh.
That tells his friend Lisa Carroll that he and Montana and Regina were together that night. But 24 years earlier.
Well, I'm glad you were able to join us tonight, Proud
He
Irish.
slept up. Four-year-old Montana was in the back seat of a car being driven by Steve Gates when his dad drove his
I don't
mother
totally hate the name Montana
to
either,
her
actually. No, they're not from Montana.
Paul Hicks of these charges.
But it's better than some other place
beyond a
names.
reasonable doubt. The defendant killed his wife.
Yeah.
The defendant.
What do we think of this opening?
Thank you.
It wasn't terrible. It was a lot of information they had to give, so. So we did the woman who's his ex-girlfriend who they burnt down the house, that he burnt down her house. There was something else too. We did the sentencing of Dustin. I think that's it for these cases. But there's also, Brian Walsh. Hang on a sec. We can look for Brian Walsh's. They did the closings. Did you guys see that? I mean, I don't know.
The position, neither one seems viable.
This is the defense first. And I guess they each only spoke once. They didn't do like a rebuttal or anything.
Needs to prove to you that Mr. Walsh was a loving father and a loving husband. We know from much of the testimony of Jim Motlow. We know from simple testimony from Julie Basler from Kindercare. When asked questions about her experience with Mr. Walsh and the children, that he would show up and he'd be interested and he'd be friendly and he was always interested in the progress of his children.
What are we talking about here, people?
And how do we know he's a good father? Because Anna Walsh trusted him with their 3 children, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for all those times she was up in Washington, D.C. The unthinkable happens. It happens in a variety of ways. And the Commonwealth must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that a homicide occurred, that a killing occurred.
I like trials that move along, and also some of the people are entertaining.
On the facts and circumstances and the evidence given to you. There's evidence that he lied to the police. There's evidence that he searched the internet.
Yeah, he's been busy, all right, Katie.
There's evidence that he
If you're talking about Hicks.
the body. But there is no proof in all of the evidence that you have heard and been presented that he ever once thought about harming the woman he loved. That he ever thought about harming the woman he loved. That he ever planned
Ex-Derek,
to harm.
Ex-Derek says he's a little concerned because of the prosecution was not great. And I think I texted you guys when I started watching this, and I was like, this is not good, because he really seemed like he's just leaning into like almost like a conspiracy theory, like the government wants you to believe that he killed his wife. And it's like, well, you know, this isn't exactly like, it's not exactly a tinfoil hat theory, you know? But this prosecution just never brought it, you know? And a lot of times we feel that way in cases like even Sarah Boone, we're like, they're not saying this and they're not saying that. But they knew that, I have a feeling they were pretty sure that what was going to happen is what happened. She's her own worst enemy. But this they didn't, like Hear Me Out was saying, they didn't pursue anything when the time came. They didn't ask the right questions. Like, I mean, this was actually turned out to be not a terrible argument. Closing argument. Welcome back, and yeah, we're watching the closing arguments. It was very dull as far as drama goes, and just all of it. I mean, it was just boring, and they didn't do a good job. And oh, he's definitely guilty, Robert. Paul Hicks. I mean, so is this guy, but. Right, but they've been saying it for so long, and as you say, people are probably just, I guess they're intimidated by him, but my God, that's what law enforcement is for. He's been getting away with literal murder. Right, Eric, me too, which is really saying something, because that should not even be possible in this case. There should be no reason we're having this conversation.
Did he ever intend?
I think he'll be found guilty, but, you know, they did not.
So, when we talk about
Miyagi,
the evidence of the affair, when we talk about evidence of financial concerns, when we talk about evidence of being afraid to go to prison, those are the motives that the Commonwealth needs to prove to you to support any notion that a loving husband and a loving father would kill his wife. And the evidence suggests there was no motive at all.
It did, Katie.
And without a motive, without a reason, a reason that is based on facts and circumstances, logic and understanding, without that, you have a sudden and unexpected event.
Which case the Jack
panic,
Hicks? I mean, Paul Hicks. I don't know why I cannot remember that name. Tanika?
All of those things that are so troubling and horrific that you've heard evidence about.
Right, Boomshiki, or another Casey Anthony. That's the problem.
Be argued that they show consciousness of guilt. But people do things, terrible things.
Hey, Boom, I don't know if I said hello to you.
Not out of guilt, but out of fear, out of disbelief, out of confusion. Certainly, a loving father and a loving husband would feel guilty about what he did do. Not just about lying to the police, but what he did do in the context of what he did to the woman he loved. In a moment, in hours, and in days of confusion and disbelief and horror. But that feeling of guilt had nothing to do with the killing, because he never killed Anna Walshe. You will hear arguments that you've seen the evidence that might evoke emotion. Who wouldn't feel emotional in what you've heard, what you've seen? But your obligation, and I don't mean to sound like I'm lecturing you at all. Her Honor will instruct you on the law, and that is not my problem.
Right, but there's no excuse not to win a case like this.
You cannot base your verdict on sympathy for Anna Walshe. You can't base your verdict on anger for what Mr. Walshe did. You can't base your verdict on passion, based on the evidence that you've heard that is upsetting and terrifying and at times disgusting. But that's not what you can do as jurors in this case. At the beginning of this case, when you were sworn as jurors, you might not recall it, but the clerk of this court read you some words. To this indictment.
Yeah, for real, Helen.
The defendant pleads not guilty. Places himself before this country which you are. The obligation.
Someone eating a bag of peanuts in there? What the hell?
In this case, is unlike perhaps any obligation that you've ever accepted in your life. Perhaps. That's for you to judge. But your obligation requires that without passion and without anger and without sympathy,
Closing
that you assess the facts as troubling as they are and at times as horrific as they are.
This was
and
today.
Make your verdict rest on the evidence and nothing less and nothing more. Unbelievable, facts that don't make sense at times, something that is incongruent. An example of that is the end of Mr. Jim Mutlow's testimony, where for almost an hour he talks beautifully about the love between these two people.
Yeah, it was
Then
ridiculous.
he talked glowingly about Mr. Walshe. And then toward the end of his examination, he wanted to say something about now he was thinking there might have been some kind of problem. And reflect upon the evidence that he gave of a phone call he had with Mr. Walshe on the 4th, when the conversation was confusing to Mr. Mutlow, confusing where he kept asking what could have happened that would...
Barry Adams, I get the feeling that you might be a fan of Kathy and Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo.
...result in Anna Walshe leaving. The lie that Mr. Walshe was telling people out of fear that no one was going to believe him about what happened, so he lied. But consider the way that Mr. Mutlow had a terrible time trying to understand that. And why? Because he knew both of them. Because what he was thinking.
Me too, Helen.
Why would Anna Walshe leave? They love each other. I know them both. It makes no sense. And that is what happens. When something happens that is
Katie.
Totally confusing.
Katie, I read dismember as disassemble. I was like,
and you seek answers. You yearn for answers that make sense of something. And when something sudden and unexpected happens, something tragic.
Okay, Dandy.
Your ability to come to terms with it, when it's such a dynamic, such a tragedy, you change. You change.
For me, just cutting her up is enough. Put him away forever. even if his story is
The
true.
dark, troubling evidence of the searches.
I
They
think
began
second
at
degree
4:52
is an option.
a.m.
I think.
on January 1st of 2023. And the first one is, how do you dispose of a body?
Right, the planning might not.
Causes chills.
I hope that's an option, because if they went for just first, it's ridiculous.
Look at all of those
Right,
searches.
disassemble is the PG version.
Think of how they evolved. Consider how they go from one subject to another in rapid fashion. Searches conducted by a man that is in disbelief, in confusion. 5 hours spending with his wife on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell, right?
Enjoying life,
That's Eric.
talking about
That's
the
enough for me. I almost don't care how she died.
A sudden and unexpected tragedy happens, and it doesn't make sense. If Mr. Walshe began to make those searches with murder in his heart as a result of murder, then why isn't the first search how to dispose of a body after murder? Because that's the search that occurred 6 hours later. And when you see that word murder,
Oh, what does that mean, Deborah?
no one would not react to that word. And certainly, as jurors in this matter, you're expected to react in a way to that. What does that mean? Does that mean that he, in fact, murdered his wife?
Me too. It makes me nervous here to judge. She says, after Casey Anthony going for first degree without surveillance, without... This thing turns off as soon as I'm trying to read it. Without surveillance footage makes me nervous. Well, not only without... I agree with you, but not only without footage, without a rigorous prosecution. I mean, where was their rigorosity, you know? Come on. I mean, if you're going to go for first degree, like I remember Mr. J saying when they were talking about, it was in a pretrial thing, and he was like, I'm completely confident that we can get second degree murder on this. I think it was during a conversation about the plea or something. I don't know. But when he said that, it made me realize, at least I took it as like, he thought he probably also could have gone for first, which I think he could have and gotten it. But the way he said it, it was like, that's our safety net. That's the charge that we know we can get. You know, we don't want to overshoot. We don't want to screw it up by taking a slight risk that maybe they wouldn't think it was, you know, first. But this is like, they're doing all the wrong things. You can't charge someone with first degree murder and phone it in. I said what I said.
What? But think about it in context. In this case, on these facts, context matters.
Oh, Deb, I was going to ask you
And so
how
the
that's
first
going.
time the word murder is used in
That's
these
good.
horrific searches is 6 hours after they began. And I tried to ask Trooper Garino, one
It'll
of
be
the
better when
forensic
she's here.
specialists, as he called himself, associated with the Mass State Police. I tried to ask him, well, it's only logical, isn't it? That if you don't
Let's
get
hope
results,
so. This is forever.
you
And there's
change
also the
word.
right, the fraud. Yeah.
We all know that from our own common experience. And you look at those searches that came and went
She was sentenced.
during this
The
time,
sentence was the same.
the results had to do with funeral parlors and cemeteries and things like that. But Mr. Walshe,
What do you
given
mean?
the
What did they
tragedy
do?
that occurred to his
Exarch?
life, and given the time that had passed and his fear and disbelief, he couldn't call a funeral parlor. We need to try to understand, what can I do? Then the searches become darker. They become more upsetting. Now the thought is dismemberment. And there's searches like that
All right,
Heard
here to
about
judge.
it. You'll
Good.
read about it.
It's going to be a very Bailey's
And then
week for you.
see searches that cover days. And there's searches about cleaning. And there's searches about how to clean up. You'll read them. And even though they don't talk about murder, they are equally upsetting because you're thinking, as jurors in this case, he's thinking about cleaning up.
What do you mean, though, Tanika? You think that they...
He's thinking about how you clean a concrete floor.
You mean...
Context.
You mean Jay and Mr. Jay and
1,034 pages
Cacciatore?
of digital data. 3,667 records.
Yeah, that is what they
taken
did.
from his MacBook.
Derek.
Not one.
That's the problem.
record, not one page refers to any plan. Not
Here,
one record,
this
not one
time.
page refers to any intent to kill. Nothing. So keep it in context when you review.
It was a grief dismemberment. You can curse.
I suggest to you respectfully, you're the jurors. What is the evidence of premeditation? There's evidence of a knife. There's evidence of a knife that is seen in a kitchen cabinet. Could I please have Exhibit 201?
Also, Scripsy, when I rewatched yesterday's live, I had it on. I was looking at the chat too because I like to check out, and I missed a few things that people said, and now I don't remember what they were. But one of the things I saw, they'll probably come back to me, was that does Gigi also have a channel? I know he has a channel because I looked it up, but I didn't realize you were both talking about having people subscribe. Because if he does, I'll put it up on the thing. I mean, if he wants subscribers, you know.
And next exhibit, 202.
Yeah, I mean, of course he wants to win the case, but
the knife. It was above a refrigerator. It was in plain view. Had no visual red blood stain. And yet the government wants you to think about this knife. So think about it. Don't ignore it. Do not refuse to consider it. Of course you will, but think about it. In a cabinet above a refrigerator.
It's possible, Shelly Beans.
And they first test it with some screening test. It doesn't prove that it has even blood on it. And they take it, and they should. And then, what happens is everybody loses interest in the knife. Everybody, the Mass State Police, the crime lab. There's no further testing of this knife. And ask yourself, if that knife is to be considered a weapon used,
I have to say, he did not do a terrible job with this
you
closing,
have heard evidence
in my opinion.
of bags and bags being thrown in dumpsters over a period of days. The government wants you to think that Mr. Walshe killed his wife and perhaps used this knife. Then why was it sitting in a cabinet days later in open view for the police? What logic is that? And there is no proof that it had one piece of biological evidence on it tied to any killing or any harm. And they simply lost interest in it. You can take it down now. Digital data, talked about that briefly, but there is nothing in that data. All of that data. And we're talking about text messages. We're talking about backbook searches. We're talking about the life that's embodied in computers that this day and age we know apparently keep track of everything we do and to some extent everything we think about. Because that's how the government is using that data.
Here we go.
They ask you to look at certain things and indicate and try to argue that, oh, this is what he was thinking.
Well,
so look at it.
I mean,
and judge for yourself. What's in this data that demonstrates premeditation, or intent to kill, or intent to harm? You have heard and
it'll come to you,
seen
Scripps.
much physical evidence. You've seen pictures of gray slippers with blood on. You've seen pictures of all kinds of physical evidence. And if the argument is
I haven't
made
looked
by
at
the government,
the videos yet, actually.
something about a dark gray slipper with blood on it indicates that a murder happened because, listen to the argument, of course you will.
We could all send poetry into you.
But a theory, an opinion, does not make it true. And to suggest something like, the evidence shows that Mr. Walshe went and bought a Tyvek suit, and maybe there's just not enough blood on the Tyvek suit to satisfy the Commonwealth. And so they suggest that some killing happened, and that's why there's so much blood on that slipper and those slippers and all that other evidence. But ask yourself, what do I know about that evidence now from what we heard?
It's true, Joette.
Every piece of evidence was put into a bag, but then was put into a compactor eventually, and was pressed together and then found. And you will see all of this evidence of when they pulled it out of dumpsters and unloaded the bags, and they
should have
first
taken
put it
like a
on
million
damp ground
times.
without any paper below it, without any tarp below it. And you heard from no less than 3 witnesses. Mr. Gould from the Mass State Police
I do
Crime
too,
Lab,
classified.
Mr. Sheehan from the Mass State Police Crime Lab, and Ms. Celine from the DNA unit. They all consistently said
Mine tell what I'm thinking too,
cross-contamination,
for the most
part
part.
transfer. They use different terms, but they all agree. So the evidence, the physical aspect of the evidence, the thing you see in the photographs, the
Right,
thing
here
you
to judge,
see
but
now,
that's different. That's a hobby.
if you open up one of the bags and take things out,
True crime searches.
is not representative, or may not be representative, of how it looked before. And you must consider that. But when the government makes an argument based on the state of the physical evidence as it appears now, ask yourself, maybe that makes sense, but maybe there's another way of thinking about it. And why is that important to your deliberations? Because you are allowed to rely on what's called circumstantial evidence. You're allowed to rely on inferences. And Her Honor will instruct you on that. I will not. But whatever reason and basis you have for making your choice and determining
Yeah,
your
Barry
decision
Adams. I think they go for confusion a lot when they don't have a great case.
must be reasonable.
Hey, CJ.
And if you, as jurors, talking amongst yourselves, find that some of your fellow jurors say, well, I think maybe it means this, and I believe this, and your other jurors, fellow jurors, say, I think this, and I believe this, you'll all consider it. But if you don't agree, then you have to ask yourself, is that inference reasonable? Is that circumstantial evidence built upon inference? Is that reasonable? And can I use that? And should I use that to try to reach a verdict under a standard of reasonable doubt or moral certainty? What is the evidence that something violent happened in this house? I went through every room as best I could with Mr. Sheehan. There was nothing found in the upstairs bedroom. There was nothing found in the sinks and basins, showers, of multiple bathrooms. Nothing found, meaning biological evidence that might indicate something violent occurred. There was nothing found in the kitchen other than a knife that they lost interest in. There was nothing found in the living room that had padding around the fireplace to protect the children from falling. There was nothing in that bedroom where Anna Walshe,
That's right. There's no such thing as late.
as adults, enjoyed their life together and had spent their life together, perhaps every night, before she moved to D.C. to take that job. How do we know that?
This is the
We know that
defense,
because
Red
the
Irish.
photographs show there was nothing there.
The Brian Walsh
Even what was
defense
characterized
closing.
as red-brown stains on curtains in
hard
the
to tell.
bedroom turned out not to be blood at all. We know that because trained examiners from the Mass State Police examined probably every square inch of that house. We know that because we saw photographs and heard testimony about floor that was dug up based on their experience and training. That biological evidence, like blood, can fall between the cracks
it's
of
violent.
flooring and reside on the subfloor. And so they tore the floor up, and you saw those photographs, and you'll have them. And nothing was found. Nothing at all. I asked Mr. Sheehan about blood spatter, and he forthrightly and honestly said, I'm not a blood spatter expert, but he explained it sufficiently to you. Someone wielding a knife or a weapon and causes blood to let out of a body, and you look for blood that has spattered with directionality. Nothing. Nothing in the bedroom, nothing in the living room, nothing in the bathrooms. No evidence that blood
I think I noticed that
down the
earlier,
drain.
Mary. Hang on, let me move this so we can see her.
Could I have exhibit 217, please? That test that I asked Mr. Sheehan about, the Serotek Hem test, that checks for hemoglobin, for blood, that test, he agreed, can detect blood at the sensitivity of 20 nanograms per milliliter. 20 nanograms. A nanogram, as he agreed, 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Think of how minuscule that is. And they used that all over the house. And so the government elicited questions and answers from many of their state police, the 10 or 20. They didn't call everybody. That's up to them. But apparently there was no need to, because 10 people or more, as Mr. Sheehan had described to you, he was estimating. He was trying to be as honest as he could and credible, and he was. 10 people pouring over that house all day on January 8th. 10 more people or more pouring over that house on January 9th with their tools and their experience, and they don't find anything except multiple bloodstains where? In the basement. In the basement. On the concrete floor. Ask yourself, when you heard testimony that Mr. Walshe attempted to clean, and so therefore they couldn't find evidence in the other parts of the house because he cleaned it. Well, ask yourself, wait a minute. Is that logical to suggest that he cleaned the bedroom up so well nobody could find a thing? He cleaned the living room up where the rug may have been, and they couldn't find anything. Well, then you see those searches where he searches specifically for how to clean concrete. So you might
Hi,
infer,
Carolina.
and it might be a reasonable inference, that he attempted to clean that concrete floor. And yet, what was found on the concrete floor? Multiple red-brown stains that turned out to be blood, and in some instances, we can all agree, based on the testimony of Ms. Slinger, the profile of those blood drops matched the profile of Anna Walshe. So to suggest that Mr. Walshe did everything he could to clean the basement concrete
Yes, hear me
floor
out. I
with
was actually going to say
hydrogen
maybe you
peroxide
want
and
to
mops and cleaning fluids,
put the link in here.
only to have blood found on the floor, defies a reasonable inference that he was able to clean any part of that house sufficiently to avoid detection. And why is that important? Because nothing violent happened in that house, and that's why there is no biological or blood evidence anywhere in that house.
Yeah, he did buy about $1,500 worth of cleaning.
The act,
in my opinion. Okay, no rush. I just, I'll go from here,
of trying to
I mean, I guess I can do it too if it's
hide the body
posted.
of blood, and the blood evidence to the scene on that carpet.
How are you, Carolina?
Carpet.
Also, I don't know if I said hi to Banana Anna, but I saw her earlier.
There's no blood in the living room.
Well, he's saying what he's saying,
inference might be that
Hear me
the
out.
carpet
He also told
was
us
taken
not
out.
to consider any circumstances.
You can look at those
Oh, no, he said to consider circumstances at one point. He was like,
pieces of carpet.
there's tons of circumstances. Thank you.
If there is no evidence,
I'm going to keep it
there's
up
no
until we go
evidence
over there.
that
Pin
anything
it.
was done before Mrs. Walshe died. And there's no evidence of premeditation or anything. There is
Huss long
evidence
to clean up after suds.
of
Yeah.
lying and disposing of the body. You can take that one. So now we look at the evidence, and I'm just going to characterize it. Some of the evidence that the Commonwealth has presented to you, and there is no question that their obligation is to present to you evidence. But I just ask you to think about, in some cases, how that evidence was presented to you. And I'm going to use a phrase that may
You
or
may
may
have
not
been
be
in-
entirely accurate, but
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
it's cherry picking. It's looking at thousands of points of data and asking you to think about it, but not
He
telling
slipped.
you why you should think about it. And what am I talking about specifically? And I'll give you some examples. We already talked about the hole in the ceiling, but let's talk about it a minute. They kept talking to you about that hole in the bedroom ceiling as if it was of some significance. And yet you recall the testimony of Mr. Sheehan. I didn't see anything significant about it. It looked like somebody might have fallen through the ceiling. And there's nothing significant about the pieces that Mr. Walshe had stored in the cabinet in that same bedroom. I asked Mr. Sheehan about that. I didn't see anything significant about that. Yet you kept being given that evidence. And then as the evidence developed, for some reason, there's Mr. Murphy. And it came out in evidence that Mr. Murphy had
Claire,
in
did
fact
you feed your
contacted
husband?
Mr. Walshe, because
A little
there was
bit.
a
He's got
promotion
that
going on.
baby
It wasn't
duck
that Mr.
on
Walshe
there a little
said,
bit.
hey, come and fix this hole, this suspicious hole. No, he was contacted. And he didn't respond right away, but then he did. And for some reason, they keep insisting that that hole is of some significance, but they don't tell you why, they just give it to you. They do the same thing with the
Did they say
searches.
why that hole was
Remember when
significant or no?
Trooper Keefe was sitting right here, and he's asked to look through those thousands of, well, I'm sorry, 250 pages
Good.
of the search history from the iPhone Mini 13, the phone that belonged to Mr. Walshe, and he's asked to look at it and says, do you see searches there to go to the MGM? Yes, I do. Nothing else. No explanation why that is significant, why it's important to try to determine if a man committed premeditated murder. You're just throwing out pieces of evidence. Why? Why were you given... Why was Trooper Peef asked to tell you about a song, a partial song title? And when you go over that evidence, look through there if you choose to, and I will encourage you to do that.
Hear me out.
And
What did you think of this
song
closing
after song,
compared to the
movie
state?
title after movie title.
Oh, I guess we can talk about it when you do
Why
the video
is
on
it
it in
that
half an hour.
the government throws that at you and says, think about this? For what reason? And then they present to you through Trooper Garino something about a porn movie. I'll just take this opportunity right now to apologize to each and every one of you
Yeah, you shouldn't have to
for
hear
some
that.
of the questions I asked. But it just didn't make sense that you would take that type of evidence and suggest that it has anything to do with determining
Jackie.
whether someone committed
Leading into anything they can.
deliberate, premeditated murder because there's a word in the title of a movie.
Oh, thank God,
And that's what I'm
Margarita.
talking about, the quality of some of the evidence here, thrown at you as if it means something, that it's significant, and yet here you are being asked to determine if someone, Mr. Walshe, committed premeditated murder with a specific intent to kill the woman he loved.
Claire. Yeah, or laundry, clean laundry, as a matter of fact. As disgraceful as it is.
When we talk about premeditated murder, we talk about planning, you have to ask yourself,
He looks so skinny, doesn't he?
did I hear evidence of the conduct of a man
Like his
who
head is very skeletal, his face.
premeditated, a man that had thought about a killing, a man that had planned? I mean, think about what you heard. And we're not going to repeat all these things
I
I've
know,
already
that's a
said, but
lot
I
of-
want you to focus
every
on one
man
more
in this
piece of
chat
evidence.
does their
I
own
asked
laundry.
Detective Schmidt, when you went down to the basement on January 4th, you saw some bags down in the basement. Yes, I did. What did you think was in those bags? I thought they were pieces of rope. My goodness. What does that tell you about the thinking process and the sloppiness and the lack of any planning or careful thought that you would expect out of someone who had planned a murder?
You're right, Margarita.
And then he lets a police officer walk down in the basement, and the police officer, based on his training and experience,
Sunken,
uses, I
not
think
chiseled.
he said, his boot, and he felt it, and he said, felt like pieces of rug to me.
I don't think that's a wig, though.
Rug?
But the back is like Sarah Boone's
That is it
a
evidence?
little bit. Not as bad.
It has blood.
Do you think he's wearing like a half wig?
Think about
It is a
all of
different
that when you're
color.
thinking about it. Did this man, Mr. Walshe, did he plan anything?
What's going on there?
No. Did he intend to kill anybody? No. Did he kill Anna Walshe?
almost like a
no.
bob back
The
there.
evidence does not support
Led Zepp, if the hair colors don't
finding
fit,
a
you must
premeditated
acquit.
murder with specific intent to kill based on the evidence, not based on sympathy, based on the evidence. Some other evidence that is troubling. Mr. Walshe is talking to the police, and he says, I messenger. When asked about, and he was trying to explain it, things will come up on my phone that I thought were for me, but then it turns out they were for Anna. And so the government seizes upon that evidence and suggests that there's evidence that Mr. Walshe had seen text messages between Anna Walshe and William Fastow. And those text messages between Anna Walshe and William Fastow, some text messages are placed into evidence, and I'm sure you'll look at them. And why would the government want you to believe that Mr. Walsh saw those text messages? Because some of the entries in those text messages are very upsetting. They may very well enrage a husband to read about what was going on in those text messages. So you'll look at them. But ask yourself, as you look at them, and perhaps as you think, I could see that might upset, that might put somebody in a rage. Problem is, there is absolutely no evidence that Mr. Walsh ever saw any text message, because he was trying to say iMessenger, and now you know from the testimony of Trooper Keefe, there's no such thing as iMessenger. We're talking about Facebook Messenger.
Oh, Kim, come on.
But the important thing is, there is no evidence in all of the digital data that you have before you, in all the digital data that they examined, that Mr. Walsh ever saw anything going on between his wife and William Fastow. And when you look at those text messages, and you might have some question about it, and if the government stands up and says, well, he saw those because he told him that he was seeing iMessenger, which doesn't exist, then ask yourself, why is it then that on New Year's Eve, Anna Walsh is taking all these photographs? It's festive. It's a lovely situation.
Should stop talking, but
and she says, in the presence of Brian Walsh, as she and Jim Mutwell were taking
Tanika,
photographs,
what do you think's happening with his hair in the back?
Photograph to Will Fastow. And was there any evidence that he reacted?
It might just
Mr.
be an
Walsh?
unfortunate.
No. And when asked by Attorney Porges,
natural wonder.
Well, so what happened next? And Mr. Mutwell really took efforts to remember, and then he said, oh yeah, that happened right before the young boy woke up and came downstairs, and that was around 10:30. So if you just think about that, then the festive and jovial celebration continued for another 2 hours. There is no evidence that he reacted. Mr. Walsh reacted to them sending a photo. Why? Because he knew his wife had a crush on Will Fastow, and it didn't even make him jealous. And how do we know that? Because she told her friend, Alyssa Kirby. And Alyssa Kirby was asked, and she said, you know, Anna told me that he didn't get jealous. He's not the jealous type. In fact, I wish he was more jealous. Please consider that in the context of this notion that the motive for a killing that did not occur, but the Commonwealth's theory of a motive is anger over an affair. There's no evidence of that. Dr. Atkinson told you. Dr. Atkinson described to you the phenomenon of sudden and unexpected death. It happens. And just because it's rare, and just because the government will undoubtedly argue that that is nonsense, listen to their argument. But Dr. Atkinson made it clear it happens. It happens in young and old, male and female. It happens unexpectedly. In fact, it happens with people who have never manifested any problem before. It happens in athletes. And how do we know that it's not absurd, even though it might be rare? How do we know it is an important aspect of what happens to people? Because the laws of this state mandate that the office, the chief medical examiner, get information from doctors, police officers, nurses, when there is a sudden death, when someone is otherwise healthy. They're mandated to investigate that. So there is a statute that Dr. Atkinson told you a little bit about on cross-examination. So ask yourself, is it as unlikely? Is it bizarre? Because Anna Walsh worked out? Yes, she had been sick before. She had been with Alyssa Kirby in the days leading up to this, and Alyssa Kirby wound up having the flu. But that's not what really is at issue here. Sudden and unexpected death may occur because someone is ill. All we know is that it happens. And the fact that someone doesn't believe it could happen doesn't mean that it doesn't. Importantly, though, think about the shock of it happening. Think about the effect it would have on anyone. A lay person that has no idea it could happen. You're down celebrating with your
God,
wife
Kim, that
and
sounds
your
like a
friend,
fun night.
and then the tragedy happens.
Get
And
them an
you
Uber.
panic because you can't believe it. You don't understand it. And you don't think anybody's going to believe it. Context. I walked Trooper Keith through all of that information. Something that he had not done yet. And so what did you hear? We went methodically.
Jackie.
Sometimes, I'm sure for some of you, it was a little painful. It took a little while. But we went through hour by hour, day by day, that basically was the life and the experience that Anna Walshe.
Led Zepp, I would say that all people other than him would call 911. Pretty much. I mean, you don't hear about this a lot when somebody is found. I mean, even Sarah Boone called 911 eventually.
And her husband, Brian Walshe, were going through in just the days leading up to January
Right, if they
1st,
weren't guilty.
2023.
Correct.
And what do you see? And you'll have that evidence. You won't have it compiled in the way that I presented it to you, because Trooper Keith never saw fit to assemble it in a way where you could really see what was going on. But what do you see, and what did you learn from the evidence? Two people communicating by phone, by text, talking about sales of property, talking about investments, talking about the future.
I saw the same thing Kim stole.
Talking about buying new
But then I was
property
like,
in
no,
D.C.
no, it can't be.
Talking about all of that, and it's all in the text. Joking when Anna Walshe was ill and stayed home and told her husband that in the text. And then they joke about it. I'll get you a plunger. And she responds, it's right there on the text.
You think,
Joking
Carolina?
back and forth in the days leading up to New Year's Eve. I'll tell you what, I'll buy the plunger. You buy me a Porsche. And then you see him shopping for a Porsche for the woman that he loved. How does it go from, I'm going to find you the Porsche you want, that speaks once again to the financial issues that were non-existent?
Really?
How does it go from that to someone who is purportedly premeditating and intending to kill his wife?
Well, because he's
And
a
those
liar
texts
and a
right up
fraudster
until
and a con
she
man.
arrives by plane in Cohasset to celebrate. So,
I don't think it's a wig.
once again, divorce? About 11 minutes of talking
I'm sure
about
he's always
divorce and
feeling
searching about
emasculated,
divorce
Tanika. I don't think it takes much.
in 7 days of phone calls. And how did that divorce search come up? It came up in the context of protecting the family assets because they just
we've
sold
seen his
the
mother,
house in
so.
Newfield that Jim Mutlow told you about. And they're trying to protect it. And the thought is to roll it over in a 1053C. And Mr. Mutlow explained that to you. Planning for the future. That is the relationship between Brian
Yeah,
Walshe
Helen has
and
not given
Anna
up this
Walshe
wig
in the days leading up to January 1st. So now
It might
we
be glued on, you know?
have come to just the evidence that, once again, just explains their relationship.
So, we're looking at the judge's face because we're going to then look at it
I'm not trying to make up what they said to
when
each
this
other.
date comes
You
on.
have that in their text. You have that. Then we get to New Year's Eve. We get to a festive event, jovial, laughter, love, described in various terms, various ways, not for 30 minutes, not for 1 hour, but for 5 or 6 hours. laughter, talking about the future. Jim Mutlow described it for you. Brian Walsh cooking, standing across from the island, feeding both of them.
Fractious, Disney mom. They're getting Jerry's fractious, I bet.
You see in the testimony that, yes, there was an affair. He didn't know it. He loved his wife. He treated his wife like the wife he loved, the mother of his children, until the sudden, unexpected event happened. Imagine you are so in love. You support your wife to get a job in
Yeah, the
DC.
color is
You're going to take care of the kids because, one, you love your children, but you want to take care of them. You want to share property and protect the assets, so everything goes into her name to protect it, because he has this federal case. So let's protect our financials for the future. And then you hear the testimony of Alyssa Kirby. Yes, she was upset. There's no doubt Anna Walsh was upset. What exactly she was upset about? Maybe things weren't going really well in the affair she was having. Or maybe she was, in fact, stressed out. Who wouldn't be? They were living apart. She wasn't seeing her children. Now, maybe, it's up to her.
Yes, Henry Fonda, Kim.
Anna Walsh was a wonderful person and a wonderful mother. And that's why he loved her so much. But she had another life. And she went to Dublin. And that's another piece of evidence. They want to suggest to you he knows something about Dublin. Where is the evidence of that? None. And you hear Alyssa Kirby choked up with tears, sobbing on the stand, but nonetheless recalling a conversation she had on 12/29, 3 days before January 1st. What does...
Yeah, I don't know, Tanika, how...
Well, I don't know if I love him as much as I used to. Those are her words. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it.
Yeah, that was the
But I
gist of
want him to take responsibility. Why? Not so she could kick him out, not so she could leave him, so they could reunite as a family. That was what Anna Walsh was talking about. That's what she was thinking, even though she was stressed, even though she was upset. And things like that happen in families, but families make it through. And that's what she was expressing. That's what she was expressing to her best friend, Alyssa.
See, there you go, Scripsy. It happens. Scripsy said so.
But I didn't give it 169. We are now at the end of the.
I don't know.
New Year's Eve party.
I don't know when he had to report
And
what
they
he was
signed
supposed to be
the
doing
champagne
and when.
bottle. We're talking about the feelings and the emotions and the state of mind of Anna Walsh and Brian Walsh, and looking towards the future. And this is on January 1st. This is on the day that the tragedy happened. Can you find it? I'm sorry, 169. Oh, I apologize. Michael, I'm sorry. It's at 257. And that's the champagne box that was signed.
Are they?
And what are the
gonna
words?
Her sons are going to make.
What a year.
The sons are going to make
And
statements.
yet we are still here.
I'm sure
and
they
together.
were questioned.
Let's
of
make
course.
2023 the best one yet. We are the authors of our lives.
Carolina, do you agree that the
Courage,
state
love,
was kind of lame?
Perseverance, compassion. Those are the words of Anna Walsh talking to her husband. Look what she says. What a year, and yet we are still here. What does that tell you?
That you're an
Yes, they had been through a lot. She missed her children. What mother wouldn't? But they were working toward the future. And one final thing about the state of mind of Brian Walsh at this period of time. He made reservations for a New Year's Day dinner. so he could be alone with his wife. And the evidence of that is in these records. And I'm not going to have it called up. I'll just tell you. Exhibit 79, page 186. Record 682.
That's so cute, Kim.
That's the data. He's researching where to take her out. And you'll see a reference to Nightingale, a restaurant that I asked Trooper Keefe about. A restaurant that's right on the line of Marblehead and Lynn. Exhibit 59, at 12:27, those records indicate that Mr. Walshe credit card used to reserve dinner for $573.76. So him and Anna could spend New Year's Day celebrating. And Exhibit 170, a text from Nightshade Restaurant itself acknowledging the reservation. And those were the plans that he made. And the government will suggest that's some kind of evidence of premeditation. Well, it's not any evidence of anything but love. Fletcher. And I'll just tell you, when you look at that evidence, you'll see that that email exchange was deleted. It's right there in the evidence. And then you heard the federal probation officer saying he wouldn't be allowed to go there. He'd have to get permission. So yes, if Mr. Walshe
I see. I didn't see the whole
his
thing.
probation officer for what reason?
Thank
so
you,
he
Carolina.
could take
We'll
his wife out for a New Year's dinner, and that evidence, and the evidence that you saw in that champagne box, is what their life was right at the moment before the tragedy happened. That is the evidence. I'm sorry I talked for so long.
Well, it's too late now because you
I
did.
apologize. Mr. Walshe loved Anna Walshe.
That doesn't
The mother
matter.
of his 3 children. There's no evidence that he deliberately premeditated a murder. There's no evidence that he ever intended to kill Anna Walshe. None whatsoever.
Well, you know, there's circumstantial evidence.
Mr. Walshe is not guilty. He's not guilty of murder. Thank you.
That was fast, Claire. You didn't doze off for very long.
Jurors can't, why don't you take a moment to stand up?
And walk away, walk out.
Everyone good?
Yeah, they really are.
When you're ready, you may be seated. Yeah, we're here for the closing argument of the Commonwealth. 88 yes.
Hi, trifling temptress.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Anna Walshe is dead.
Yeah, that's true.
Anna Walshe is dead because he murdered her. And he intended her death. Anna Walshe is not missing.
Exactly, Katie.
She never walked out of her class at home on January 1st of 2023 between 6 and 7 a.m. to take an Uber to Logan Airport. She wasn't going to DC for a work emergency. There was no emergency. She didn't say goodbye to her son. That's just a story that the defendant told people. But since January 1st, Anna Walshe has not been seen by her friends, her co-workers, or by the people who loved her. Anna didn't take an Uber. She didn't take a Lyft. She hasn't used her phone. Her phone's had no contact with the Verizon network since January 2nd of 2023, when it was in the vicinity of 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. She hasn't used her bank accounts.
her passports, her credit cards, her email. She didn't vanish.
I love the judge's
The
hair.
defendant was the only adult at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway after Jim Bootloop left around 1:30 a.m. on New Year's Day. After he left, Anna was home alone with the defendant and their 3 sons, ages 2,
No, emergency.
4. This defendant caused Anna's death, and the evidence does show me that. The evidence shows
Yeah, I don't
that
understand
Anna
it either,
didn't die of
Margarita.
natural causes, but that Anna died a violent death in her Cohasset
I guess it
home
has to be a certain kind of
January
record,
1st.
you know.
You have the photos of those pieces of rug recovered from the dumpster at the defendant's mother's complex. The rug that had been in the living room.
I would turn that into a
You have the photo of
vape
Anna
machine.
in the living room on top of the rug. The photo shows that there are wood floors in that room. There's blood on that rug.
Yeah, it's crazy that
The rug was
anyone thinks they
recovered
get
from
away
the
with this.
compactor
This was
outside of
the plan he put
defendant's
together.
mother's apartment and taken to the office of the chief medical examiner for examination. And Dr. Atkinson found a blood clot and a piece of Anna's Gucci necklace embedded in one of the cut-up pieces of rug. So look at the piece of metal stamped Gucci. It didn't break on its own. The rest of the necklace is missing.
Yeah, Meowgy.
This is the necklace that Will Fatsow said that Anna often
It's like a
used.
hookah.
Look at the slippers from the dumpster. The 2 pairs of adult slippers.
Let's see if we can get this judge's
The
face
dark
going
gray
here.
slippers have hair and blood clumped to the bottom. And the DNA testing tells you that the slippers have the DNA of Anna Walshe and the DNA of the defendant. Then there's the bathrobe. And there are 2 bloody white towels. A towel was tested and had Anna's DNA.
Oh, friggin' Pope, did you have
Why
a
did
soft
the
sit
defendant throw
emergency?
Anna's out? Because they had Anna's blood on them. And the evidence shows you this because the defendant was researching cleaning.
Yes,
How to clean
it's
blood
very
from
similar
blood
hair.
pores. Does the
Carolina.
dishwasher clean
They're
blood?
both nice looking too.
Is it possible to clean DNA off knife? The defendant
I thought
still
Jessie
had
had a.
cut
I thought
on
her.
his thumb
Oh, maybe that was the
on
other drunk
January
driving
9th,
girl woman.
2023.
I thought it was a black woman, but I must be
And on
thinking of that.
January 1st, before he even went to
oh, no, I
Lowe's
was
to
thinking
buy
of her.
any cutting instruments, an initial stop that he made when he left his house was to go to Walgreens to buy
Good.
antibiotic
Figure
ointment and Band-Aids. Then he went to Bin and Liquors, where the manager identified the defendant, and the defendant threw a bag into the dumpster. Store is closed. The parking lot is
A
empty.
soft sit emergency is when
He's
friggin'
not
Pope
yet
wants to leave this chat to go watch some body cam thing, some soft
January
citizen.
2nd, 2023.
I assume.
The defendant went to Home Goods.
Oh, the
because he
Visine
had to
murder.
buy a
Yes,
new
okay,
rug
thank
for
you.
that
I thought it was the
living
one who
room to
killed those poor
cover
people on the day of the
hardwood
wedding.
floor.
Thank you,
He
Carolina.
did this
I mean
days
Fletcher boy.
before the forensic scientists got to the house and knew that the rug had been changed. Anna Walshe dying a sudden death from natural causes defies common sense.
Yeah.
She was in great shape. The defendant told police that Anna was a sturdy Serbian woman. Listen carefully to his recorded interviews, because those are his words after her death.
We don't have a Cheesecake Factory, I don't think.
Mark Salvaggi told you that Anna had the highest health rating of the life insurance company. Anna had to complete an interview, have blood drawn, provide her medical records, and the life insurance company and the underwriters gave her this health rating. Anna was an active person who took care of her health. Ashley Semino, her bar instructor, told you about this exercise class that she took the morning of
Anna was
December
born in
31st,
Europe. Yeah, she's
And Anna was the type of person, she said, who made others want to work harder in their exercise class. Will Pastel
I knew a second ago.
that Anna was very active and did yoga together. Sergeant Amy Waterman described Anna's home gym in DC. And Dr. Atkinson told you about.
Is it in Times? I don't. Is it in? Is there one in Times Square?
It is extremely rare.
I didn't think so, but maybe there is. I don't know.
Good health to suddenly die.
We have juniors in Times Square, right? And maybe elsewhere. But juniors, I thought, started here.
For the medical examiner to tell you the exact cause
Serbia.
of Anna Walsh's death. No autopsy can be done. The defendant deliberately got rid of Anna Walsh's body. The defendant did not want anyone to find Anna's body and to know how she died. So the defendant bought cutting tools at Lowe's and Home Depot, and he cut up Anna's body, the woman that he claimed
Well, he was going to be in a cage anyway, probably.
and he
Joey.
threw her into dumpsters.
Yeah.
He was
That's not very
hiding
romantic.
her body. The defendant intended to kill Anna Walsh.
Yeah.
He didn't just want her dead, he needed her dead. This was a marriage in crisis, and it was heading towards a breaking point. It began with the defendant's federal case. And through the defendant's interview and his federal probation officer, you learned that the defendant was on home confinement. He was going to have to pay over $400,000 in restitution, and the case had been pending since 2018.
I think
Murder
Murder One.
had no assets. He told Jamulu that he only made
Which is a mistake in my opinion, but okay.
But he had told the police that he had businesses that were not making any money at all yet. Peter Capozzoli told you that the defendant's mother had signed the lease for the Cohasset home, and it was his mother that was paying his rent. Meanwhile, Anna was beginning to thrive. The marriage was beginning to deteriorate. Anna had her dream job. She had risen to become an executive at Tishman Speyer, and she was making close to $300,000 a year. She earned a bonus.
Well, both are on the
Martinez
table.
said that Anna was a good employee.
I guess they can
And
do
the
either.
defendant knew this. He bragged of her bonus and salary. She bought a townhouse,
I don't know.
and she furnished that townhouse for her family, and she set up bedrooms for each of her 3 boys. But the reality was, her family couldn't join her because the defendant needed the children with him. Being the primary caregiver allowed him.
I bet they feel pretty terrible about that deal they let him make. Stay home and watch his kids now.
The defendant and Anna was taking a toll. Anna wanted the children with her.
Thank you,
Anna
Carolina.
began a relationship with Will Campstown.
I think we learned that earlier, but I...
The defendant and Anna were growing apart emotionally and physically.
You think he was
Anna
jealous?
struggled
I don't know.
Not having her children and not being able to be the mother that she wanted to be. This got worse when Anna
So
took
up,
the trip to
Scripsy.
Serbia to take care of her sick mother. Anna and Will Pastel spent the Thanksgiving holiday first in Dublin before Anna went to Serbia. And Anna bought
I don't know,
plane ticket
Tanika. It's
with
so
the credit
ridiculous.
card that the
He's
defendant monitored.
he's a
The
sociopath.
defendant told police that he
Like,
monitored their joint
he's
Chase
been
Freedom credit card statements.
diagnosed, apparently.
The MacBook history also shows
Of course he did.
the
I mean,
defendant looking at the Chase account. The defendant knew about Anna's travel because in a recorded interview, he told the police that she had a
misrepresent
layover
himself,
in
I mean.
Frankfurt, and that connection in Frankfurt is on the same credit card statement. And you can see that, it's right in front of you. The defendant was angry about Anna missing Thanksgiving. And he mentioned it repeatedly when he spoke to investigators.
I got angry about Thanksgiving.
You should always
And
remind
I realized
the
it
top
was just sad that we're not spending a lot of time together. And she was sad about it too, and it was exhausting for both of us. It was she was away from the boys, and I was always dealing with the boys.
Anna returned from Serbia in December, but she only spent one day in Cohasset. And she was supposed to come home for Christmas morning, but she missed her early flight, and she couldn't get a flight, and then she had to drive up. The defendant told police there was an argument.
I did have an argument with her for the Thanksgiving and then.
It's always the question, Tanika. I don't
Christmas
get it.
Eve, so I wasn't going to make the same mistake 3 times.
So what did the defendant do on Christmas Day when his wife wasn't home? He looked up Will Festa on his cell phone. The man his wife had just spent the night with. The defendant was losing Anna. Anna was missing her children and wanted to be them. Anna quickly returned to D.C.
Hey, Danielle.
And on December 27th, the defendant was looking up the best strategies to divorce for a man and
Okay, Miyagi.
DC divorce laws.
It's in about a half an hour.
This was not to protect assets. That wasn't the search. The defendant told the police that everything was in Anna's name. The defendant had nothing without Anna and the kids. And on December 29th, Anna spoke with Jen LaRue and told him that she was upset. Upset about the travel, upset being separated from the children, upset about the defendant's bedroom. It was ongoing. It was getting to be too much.
Yeah.
On December 29th, Anna went out with Alyssa Curry. And she broke down. This strong Serbian woman who was supposed to be having a fun night out with a girlfriend, going to dance karaoke, instead broke down. Anna told Alyssa that she had told the defendant that he
Yeah.
needed to take responsibility for the federal case.
Well, now he's really about to lose everything, including his freedom
She wanted the
forever.
children with her
I
in
hope.
DC, and she and the defendant had not been intimate in close to a year. In Anna's mind, the marriage was broken. Anna even questioned if she could just take the children because she had already established a separate household. She said that she was falling out of love with the defendant. And at home in Cohasset, what was the defendant doing? He was looking up the Mazda building and the FBI raid on the Crossing building. Looking up something that had happened in the spring of 2022 when Anna first started working for Tissue.
Of course, he didn't think he'd get caught.
Interestingly,
Idiot.
this was when the defendant
Idiot earned.
brought up something he brought up in his interviews when he lied about Anna having to leave early for a work emergency. His family, the work emergency. The defendant was going to lose Anna, and when he lost Anna, he would probably lose his freedom. Anna would have a house in D.C. and a nice job, and he would likely go to jail. So the defendant pretended. He lulled Anna into thinking that everything was okay. He joked with her about a Porsche. He didn't want her to realize that he was aware of the relationship with Will or her ability to leave him. He wasn't going to let Anna know that she wasn't safe.
Sorry to interrupt. Tanika, did you hear, everyone, did you hear that someone was stabbed at Macy's today? Not good. While changing her baby?
On December 31st of 2022,
That's not going to be good for tourism, but nothing stops these tourists.
Why is that important? The mislaid phone allowed the defendant to be unavailable for 2 days. The mislaid phone allowed him to carry out his plan uninterrupted. And the mislaid phone allowed him to show the police when he eventually reports Anna as a missing person, and not have the police question why he didn't contact Anna earlier. The evidence shows that the defendant was methodical. Just look at how he shopped at Lowe's with a list. He planned it with precision. So Jem Lulu came over for dinner on New Year's Eve, and the defendant told Jem that his phone was lost and it was free. Anna was texting throughout the night, including with Will Baston. This is now the third holiday where Anna was concentrating on the other man in her life. When Jem left, Anna was alone. She was with the defendant, the man she was cheating on, the man she was telling to take responsibility for his actions.
Yeah, 34th Street.
Who had her children. The defendant murdered Anna that morning.
I'm always surprised these things don't happen more, actually.
This is what the internet history shows. His internet history, written words, he was looking at best way to dispose.
Yeah, the mother, I agree. Carolina.
Better to throw away crime scene clothes or wash them. Crime scene. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Anna was dead. The defendant killed her, and he began researching how to get her money, how to repair it, how to get away with the crime. And he might have gotten away with
Proud
it.
Irish.
But he didn't know that his MacBook was syncing with his son's iPad, the same Apple ID. His demeanor changed during the interview on January 8th. When the police mentioned the searches on the iPad.
Try to avoid Times Square as much as possible.
Not because the iPad involved his children.
I'm very close to it.
He had already involved the children in his lives. But because he knew he was caught. We know he had already involved the 6-year-old when he had the 6-year-old say that he saw his mother when she left the house.
Yeah, Disney Mom, apparently.
The son could not have seen Anna leave the house. The defendant had already killed her.
It's pretty smart because out in the streets, there's a lot of police activity.
During the January 5th interview, the defendant spoke about what his son supposedly.
Not here, of course, but where the tourists are.
And the defendant involved the 4-year-old by saying that the 4-year-old hid the defendant's iPhone 13 mini. So, the defendant's phone made a reservation at Nightshade Noodle Bar for New Year's Day. After the defendant told Anna that they were going to have a special party. This is ironic because
Exactly,
the
Jackie.
defendant was very clear with police on
zoo.
January 7th that he and Anna had
I liked
no
it before
plans
they
for
cleaned
New
it
Year's
up
Day.
better.
And the defendant also knew that he would be violating the terms of his federal probation by going to a restaurant on New Year's Day. But let's look closely at Exhibit 170 about the Nightshade Noodle reservation, which was on the defendant's iPhone Mini 13, which the defense just said was deleted. And if you look on page 2, on the bottom of one of the bubbles, you will see that the message was deleted on January 1st at 7:59:05 a.m. This happens to be one of the times that the iPhone Mini 13
very
was
strange,
unlocked
Carolina.
when it was supposed to be missing. The forensics show that the defendant's phone was unlocked 4 times and it was plugged in on January 1st. You heard testimony that the phone had a password of 197512. And in the January 4th recorded interview, you hear the oldest child needed help with his iPad password, which was 121212.
I haven't watched the Diddy thing yet. I'm scared. But I do like Fiddy,
The defendant blamed his misplaced phone on one of his children when he said that the children hid it. But it makes no sense that a 4-year-old somehow unlocked the defendant's phone and deleted that text reminder. Listen to the defendant's recorded interview. The deletion is made when the defendant is supposedly making French toast and playing with the kids.
A few months ago, a woman was murdered by her husband during conjugal visit. Stabbed her, so... She was beautiful, too. They were both good looking.
Had access to his phone. Context. The defendant also had access to 2 other phones when his phone was supposedly lost. He had Anna's phone and he had the iPhone SE. And in the recorded interviews, the defendant told police that on New Year's Eve, Anna had an argument with a friend, and as a result, Anna put her phone upstairs in his bedroom.
You said she went and put her phone upstairs after that?
After that, she, let's say it's 10 or 15, and then she I remember her putting her phone.
Yeah, I remember hearing that about the ankle monitor, but I'm not sure he's
Thomas came down at one point and hung out with you.
Yes. Yeah.
He would have Googled it.
Was this before, during, or after Thomas was participating as well?
Oh, yeah, Thomas went to bed at, he went to bed and then he came over at like 9 or 10 or something. I think Anna took a bunch of photos. Jim and I don't have any because she
Mallory,
sent
it's
them to us
crazy
yet.
to me too.
But I think she sent one to Will Fasto, so that was when that's when the photo was taken about. So it was maybe 10 o'clock or something like that.
You know where upstairs she put her phone at that point?
Yeah, on a bedstand.
That's not what Jem said. Jem said that Anna was using her phone all night. Melissa Kirby texted with Anna. The defendant was telling investigators a story about Anna's phone. How else do we know that the defendant intended to kill Anna and had a plan for doing so? Look at his internet history. Look at what he did. The defendant set up an area in his basement where he surrounded it with plastic sheeting or a tie-back suit and dismembered his wife.
That's where Stacey Castor got her antifree, was online.
Hacksaw, the best tool for dismembering a body?
Yes, he does, because he's a smart businessman and I think a decent person.
He got rid of her clothes and bag that he told police that she had, that she supposedly left on January 1st. He threw her in the garbage bags, tossed those garbage bags in different dumpsters, disposing of a body in the trash. Chatham West apartment rental, the Claremont apartment rental. And please confirm this with the location data from the SE phone and the iPhone 13 mini. The evidence shows that the defendant did this to hide the fact that he murdered Anna. He could not let Anna's body be found because Anna didn't die of natural causes. The defendant murdered Anna, and then he had to hide the evidence of his crime. In his mindset, within his internet history, want to get away with murder, use a special detergent. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Best way to dispose of body parts after murder. When you deliberate, look through the binder of the MacBook internet history. There are no searches of natural causes of death, sudden death, heart attack, aneurysm, stroke, or how to help your children when someone dies unexpectedly.
I'm sure Sarah would like to get a haircut at a salon.
The defendant was not sad. Look at his demeanor in the surveillance videos.
Yeah.
He's cool and calculating. He's calm. He had plans. On January 1st, he went to the Lowe's store an hour away, even though there were hardware stores approximately a mile from his house. And when he was in Lowe's on January 1st, he wore a mask and he wore gloves and he had a list of what he was shopping for.
Because he already
was calm.
pled to the dismemberment, I think.
A hacksaw, buckets. He used cash. Does this show confusion, panic, or fear? But it doesn't stop there.
Right, Sky Flash.
He went to CVS
If they're getting
to buy
out.
hydrogen peroxide. And then he went to Stop and Shop to buy ammonia. No wonder the house was so clean. And on Monday, January 2nd, he went to Home Goods for rugs and handles. And then he went to Home Depot, where he had bought buckets with lids this time, baking soda, and a hatchet. And at some point that day, he got a call from his probation officer. And he lied, and he said that he was picking up his children. He was able to calmly speak with her. No panic. He had everything now that he needed to dismember the woman that he supposedly loved. And he started to take her body and to throw it into dumpsters, because he had to cover up the crime to get rid of the evidence of the murder. This was not a man in crisis. This was a man who on January 4th went to TJ Maxx to buy pants with a store exchange card. He was calm. But Alyssa Kirby texted him on January 4th asking about Anna, and so he called Tishman's Fire a few minutes later and started to pretend to look for her. He called Will Fastel, but he didn't leave a message. He called back
4
later.
o'clock, come on.
And then he calmly left a voicemail. No panic. The defendant knew where Anna.
Oh, till 4:30 is all they were given?
The
It's
defendant
kind of crazy.
He even texted Anna's sister in Canada.
That was kind of like Bev 2, if memory serves.
He was methodical. Look at the text messages. And at 4:30 p.m. on January 4th, the defendant went to Lowe's to buy a trash can.
What was the trial where it was was it Delphi?
Comfortable. Not.
I don't think so. It was something that seemed so obvious.
The police would come to the house and
they took a really long time, like days.
And the defendant had the house ready. The police think his wife is in D.C. He had his phone ready, and he sent text messages to Anna, even though he knew she would never see him. Despite everything that he had done, on January 2nd, the defendant wrote a text message to Anna. I still love you. Ha ha. His Jim. The defendant prevented anyone from ever finding Anna's body. No autopsy. Dr. Atkinson told
Yeah,
you
Kim
that
Calta. I don't
the
see him
defendant
making French
prevented an
toast.
autopsy of the body.
Why? When there's
All that
cereal.
remains of Anna are
Doesn't even make
hairs,
sense.
some blood,
Or Eggos, like you
and
said,
few
maybe.
things that belong there. A part of a necklace she often wore,
Yeah.
her hunter boots, a black jacket, a purse, her COVID card, and 2 other items in the dumpster in his mother's apartment.
So disgusting, this crime.
The defendant searched his MacBook for a murder conviction that he did not alibi. Please do not allow the defendant's self-serving act of dismembering and disposing of Anna's body to let him get away with this murder. At the start of this trial, we asked you to use your common sense. When you do that, when you analyze the evidence as you deliberate and continue to use your common sense, you will see that the evidence shows there is only one verdict. Find the defendant is guilty of a premeditated first-degree murder.
I can't live without air conditioning.
Thank you.
Okay.
I will see counsel at the side of the bench.
So there we go. She does need to. Who needs to judge? The lawyer? The attorney? My God, Kim Stoll, that's terrible. So this is the link to Hear Me Out, which starts in about 15 minutes. I'm going to put it in the chat and then bid you adieu for the next 15. And hopefully see you guys there. If not, have an amazing night. And I'll see you very soon. I'm going to be working on some new poems and some stuff. And hope everyone is well and safe.